an SUV to a pickup.
Good idea.
Chevy Avalanche. Like a rock.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carol Iavana, and here are the latest developments as America strikes back in the war on terror. The Taliban offered to hand over bin Laden if the U.S. proves his guilt and stops bombing Afghanistan. Administration officials called the offer rhetoric intended to make the Taliban appear reasonable to its supporters.
There's no need to discuss innocence or guilt. We know he's guilty. Turn him over. If they want us to stop our military operation, they just got to meet my conditions. And when I said no negotiation, I meant no negotiation.
In Colorado, law enforcement sources are trying to track down 25 to 30 Arab men who paid cash to take a truck driving course in Colorado. The men reportedly finished the course without requesting any advice on career placement, which is typically what happens. Meanwhile, in Florida, those 5 additional test cases that came out positive for exposure to anthrax may not have been positive after all. Fox News has learned the test results were misinterpreted and could be wrong. And Colin Powell left for Asia today on a diplomatic mission to shore up the anti-terror coalition. Our next update is at the bottom of the hour. Hannity Colmes continues next. You're watching Fox News Channel, the most powerful name in news. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Hannity Colmes. I'm Sean Hannity. Also coming up tonight, what can we expect out of Washington in the coming week and later? Why is one Wisconsin school board refusing to say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? But first, a New York police officer and 2 lab technicians who worked on detecting the anthrax case at NBC are being treated with antibiotics for minimal exposure to the bacteria, and both are expected to be fine. This brings now the number of people around the country who may have contracted or been exposed to anthrax to 12. So are we in for, well, possibly more deadly form of anthrax or scratches, or are we worrying about nothing? Joining us tonight, Fox News medical analyst Dr. Isidore Rosenfeld. All right, so we have 5 more cases in Florida, the cops involved, another case at NBC News, and we have a scared nation.
We have a scared nation. We have a scared nation of almost 300 million people because of 6 or 7 people who are sick. You've got to put this in perspective. I can tell you as a practicing physician that my patients are terrified.
Really?
They read about a credible threat within the next 24 hours. They read about the vast terrorist network that's impossible to find. We're then told to go about your business. Now, that's very hard to do.
I raised that exact question with Dick Thornburg.
So this is what I tell my patients. Look, from the
shot of whiskey, call me in the morning?
Exactly.
All right.
From the moment you're born, you're threatened. You're threatened with cancer, with heart disease, with stroke, with everything. You obtain all the facts you can, you do what you can to prevent it, and you live your life. This is no different. Anthrax, in order to wipe out a significant number of people, has to be delivered by aerosol in vast numbers. You need to inhale 8 to 10,000 spores that are very, very fine, that get into the depths of the lung. Exactly. What these turkeys are putting in the mail, some talcum powder or some anthrax, is treatable. It's clumped. It can get into a broken skin. It's not going to destroy America, and it's not going to destroy you.
95% of the cases are through the skin. It's 100% curable. There's no problem. It's only a small percentage. As you pointed out, if it gets inhaled, we need at least 8,000 spores. Very difficult. All right, I agree with you.
Good.
And I don't think America should be that afraid of anthrax, but should be on alert.
But let me say this.
But I'm afraid of smallpox, doctor.
But just a minute, before we leave, let me say this. The stress, I've said this earlier today, the stress that we're subjected to about all of this is worse than any of the potential diseases.
I agree.
Because the stress reduces the function of your immune system, makes you vulnerable to everything.
Here's my question. We had on this program Friday night, Chris Shays. He said he had credible testimony from somebody who's supposed to know that Iraq and Iran have smallpox. We thought it was eradicated. It's not. Now, that is something that is highly contagious, and we know from our own government that we only have 12 million vaccines for a population of 280. Isn't that something that can...
But look...
I'm not stressed out about it, but it's...
But look, you're spreading a rumor. The facts are...
Credible testimony.
You've heard, I can tell you what somebody told me.
No?
But wait a minute, it's not credible testimony. As far as we know, as far as the government and the intelligence agency knows, there are two supplies of smallpox. One is in the CDC, the other is in Novosibirsk.
It was a Russian scientist who had defected that testified before the committee that said that they had it. So I find that credible.
Well, it may be credible. As far as I'm concerned, there are only two sources of, but never mind. Let's not argue about that. What is the threat? If smallpox if we're attacked by smallpox, the main thing is to recognize it early. The vaccine for smallpox, and the government has stockpiled several million, not enough for everybody.
Not even close.
I know, but no, well, they have 12.5 million doses, and we hope that 12.5 million, that it won't be disseminated instantly to 300 million people. So they have 12.5 million doses. Smallpox is the only vaccine really that I know of that if you take it after you've been exposed, within the first 2 to 4 days, you can be cured.
I want to talk to you
That's
about
to remember.
the anthrax vaccine. Most people about anthrax, they talk about taking an antibiotic. Only one company, Bioport of Lansing, Michigan, is licensed to make the vaccine. They don't have FDA approval, and even when they get that approval, it'll be used only for the military. Is there something wrong with this picture?
Well, it depends what time frame you're talking about. Anthrax vaccinations are not one shot. It's over an 18-month period. We're in an acute crisis now. You're not going to, if somebody's exposed to anthrax, you're not going to say, hey, listen, come back for the next 18 months and I'll give you a shot every 3 months.
So that wouldn't really solve the problem.
But on the other hand, I think that if we believe that anthrax is a potential risk in the future, the government ought to make enough at stockpiling and start giving it to civilians. Look, until now, only the military have been allowed to have it because they're in the front lines. We're all in the front lines.
Why is it, though, in the anthrax situation, one person has lost his life, which is really what scares everybody. The other people are all treatable and being treated, and as far as I know, nobody else is at risk of this being fatal. But one person in Florida did lose his life. Why would that person have had such a more severe case than anybody else's?
Because he inhaled it. Presumably because he inhaled it. There is a you said that it was always curable. The
95% of the time.
Yeah. Well, I understood it at about 20% mortality, but be that as it may, the vast majority are treatable. Some we lose some. I think that this fellow may have had the inhaled variety.
No, just to set it up, the inhaled variety is far more dangerous. But those that get it through the skin, antibiotics are effective. If it's untreated, only 20%. So that's the number. Okay, good to see you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your kind words. Coming up, how long can we afford to fight a war as the economy continues to struggle? We'll check in with Congressman David Dreyer next. And should political correctness take a back seat to patriotism? We'll tell you the story of one school board, believe it or not, that has now banned the Pledge of Allegiance. Unbelievable. Straight ahead.
The things you love about Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs, this may be the most interesting. Announcing interest-free financing on all Toyota Corollas, Tundras, and 4Runners for a limited time only.
The American flag. It symbolizes freedom and justice for all mankind. Throughout the land, millions of Americans are proudly displaying the flag. Introducing the American Freedom Collection. A set of 2 quick display flags, 1 Old Glory flag and the exclusive God Bless America flag. Each flag is made of weatherproof, fade-resistant material. They attach to your car window in seconds. Just slide the slot in the window. It's that easy. It looks great on mailboxes, bikes, trucks, even inside your home. The American Freedom Collection also includes 4 reusable peel-in-place flags. There's no glue. Just peel off the flag and it'll cling to any smooth surface. Call now and receive your personal American Freedom pin. You get everything. The Old Glory flag, the God Bless America flag, the peel-in-place flags, and flag pin. The entire American Freedom Collection for just $14.99. Call now.
To order your American Freedom Collection for only $14.99 plus shipping, have your credit card or checkbook ready and call 1-800-203-4949.
Weeknights at 9, The Practice is on FX. See where it all began. The Emmy Award-winning series, The Practice, 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on FX.
It can strike at any moment. Swift, toxic, and often deadly. Bioterrorism, a real and present danger. But are we really ready to defend ourselves? From detecting deadly viruses to containing a widespread outbreak, is our government prepared to win this war? Join us for our Fox News Channel special, Bioterrorism, the 7 Deadly Threats.
Welcome back to Hannity and Colmes. I'm Alan Colmes. Coming up, you meet a woman who says she doesn't want her 6th grade daughter to pledge allegiance to the flag. First, on Friday, the House passed an anti-terror bill that would help the administration to battle terrorism. Joining us to explain how the legislation will help us, California Congressman David Dreyer. Congressman, welcome. You support
Always great
this
to be
bill?
with you guys.
Good to see you, sir. Do you support this bill? And do you feel it's a narrowing of any of our constitutional rights?
Well, the answer to your first question is yes, and the answer to your second question is no, and I think they're very valid questions. It's obvious now, Alan, that we need to do everything we possibly can to empower this administration to win this struggle. You know, 3 days after the tragic bombing of the World Trade Center, what was it that happened? We saw the Congress overwhelmingly, with every vote save one, pass a resolution saying that the president should have the power to take whatever necessary and appropriate steps he sees fit to win this. Now, one of the things that is very important here, Alan, if in fact, as you said, there is a question about civil liberties being in any way undermined, which I don't happen to believe that this bill will do, there is a sunset provision which expires after 3 years.
In the House version?
Yes, in the House version.
Not in the Senate version.
Yes. And we're hoping that by tomorrow it'll be successfully resolved so that the administration can move ahead with what it needs. But the sunset, I think, is something that does provide that safety net, and it's basically a 5-year sunset because the administration can simply with the stroke of a pen extend it by 2 years. But I'm very concerned about civil liberties. I always am. But at the same time, I believe it's very important for us to recognize that the administration needs to have the tools necessary to win this struggle. One of the things, Alan, that it's done is, for example, they won't have the power to monitor specific telephone conversations, only the ability to make sure that they can get the telephone numbers.
Right, that doesn't concern me, but some of the provisions having to do with the Internet and being able to look at email, being able to look at where people travel on the Internet, that concerns me. And I think civil libertarians of both the left and the right are very concerned about that clause.
Right, and I think, Alan, that we'll see a resolution of that question as the final measure passes this week. And again, I think that you'd point once again to that sunset which is in there, and I think it can be very helpful. You know, just before we went into the break, Sean mentioned the issue of the economy, and I will tell you that the economy is one of the great challenges that we face, and obviously the cost of this struggle that we're facing now. And I've listened to the other guests over the past few minutes, and I thought Dr. Rosenfeld was right on target and trying to have a modicum of balance in looking at this very serious challenge that exists out there. And I was talking to one of my professors out at Claremont McKenna College this morning who reminded me of the fact that while we've talked about December 7th, 1941, if you go back a decade before that, in talking about the economy, Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." And obviously this is a threat the likes of which we've never faced, and the economy is facing challenges. But I do think that we've got to be very balanced here.
Congressman Dreyer, we're always balanced. I got Alan. That's what Alan's here for. He's balanced.
Yeah. And I'll try to balance you too, Sean.
I'm straight down the middle. That's me.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, good to see you, Congressman. You know, we've had a number of people that have been studying in government now, Congressman McCollum, Shays, former Senator Hart, yourself, others, that have been warning us that this wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. It was something that was inevitable. Terror against America here. Well, there's a feeling that I'm beginning to get that we knew the threat was there, and we did little, if nothing, to prepare for it. Do you have that feeling?
Well, I will tell you that's concern that's out there, and of course, what we've got right now is Monday morning quarterbacking, and I think we need to learn from this. I mean, many people have said our lives have changed forever. It's clear, Sean, that our lives have been changed forever, but I think the president was on target when he said, from sorrow will come resolve, from tears will come opportunity, and the opportunity that we have is to ensure that this never happens again. So you're right. I'm sure that there are steps that could have been taken, that could have been taken that would have avoided this.
All right, but then let's go down a quick laundry list, if we can, of things. For example, we only have 12 million smallpox vaccinations. Shouldn't we have a lot more?
I heard you talking with Dr. Rosenfeld about that, and sure, I think we should do everything we possibly can to ensure that the smallpox threat is non-existent.
And really, when we spoke with the mail inspector moments ago, there are 680 million pieces of mail. They only have 3,300 inspectors. That's not enough, is it?
Well, it may not be enough, but I will tell you, I think that, again, one of the points that he made, Sean, is that people need to be practical in looking at their mail. The idea of saying they're not going to open any mail would basically bring the United States of America to a halt, and Osama bin Laden would be able to declare victory. So we can't let that happen.
Well, not to kid around again, but no one would ever open Allen's mail ever. I mean, all right, but let me ask this question. Our borders aren't secure, Congressman. They're not secure. Any enemy of the United States, whatever evil intent they have in their heart, at any moment, you agree with me, with freedom, could walk across the borders into the United States. Isn't that true?
Sean, we face a big challenge. Any nation can secure itself, but it's something unique about the United States of America to be both secure and free. And striking that balance ain't easy. It's a real challenge for us.
We can't secure our borders better?
Well, of course we should work to ensure our borders better. We've got to... I saw my colleague Lamar Smith on television earlier tonight talking about some of the things that he's tried to pursue in the area of immigration. We need to make sure that we have the tools in place, again, to keep the people who are responsible for these kinds of things out of the United States. We need to diminish the threat, I think, is the important message that needs to go out here. Because if we can eliminate Osama bin Laden, the al-Qaeda network, and other networks around the world, we will be able to declare victory. Terrorism ain't going to be gone forever, Sean, but the fact is, we have a problem. If we can diminish the threat as much as possible, we'll be able to proceed with a decent life.
Thank you very much. Good to see you tonight. Thanks for being here.
Always great to be with you guys.
And coming up next, can schools coerce patriotism? We'll debate one school board's refusal to force children to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Right back on Hannity and Colmes.
Hi, I'm Rick from Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and will now pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And will now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the Northwest's #1 family restaurant and bakery, with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive deductible and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
What will you do with the money you save when you refinance your auto loan at Oregon Telco Community Credit Union? Oregon Telco is refinancing auto loans at just 6% APR up to 60 months. Think of all the money you can get out of your car. New or used, it doesn't matter. You just need to be a member of Oregon Telco. And if you live or work at any of these counties, you can now be a member. Find out how you can benefit at www.otccu.com or 503-227-5571. Don't trade in your car, trade in your car loan at Oregon Telco Community Credit Union, the answer to better banking.
It's Food Network's Full On Football. Here's your host, Boomer Esiason.
Hey fans, let's get in the game for the ultimate matchup, football and food. Al Roker and an all-star team of celebrity chefs serve up some exciting new specials with your favorite professional football players. Every Thursday night in October, Food Network gives you the best chips, dips, and tasty tips.
Full On Football, kicking off Thursday, October 4th.
Tune in to Food Network's Full On Football all this month on AT&T Broadband.
In October, AT&T Broadband delivers the hits you want on in-demand pay-per-view. Johnny Depp and Penelope Cruz star in Blow. Steven Seagal and DMX fight police corruption in Exit Wounds. David Spade and Dennis Miller explore the strange adventures of Joe Dirt. And don't miss the psychological thriller, Memento. Call AT&T Broadband now and order in a great movie tonight on in-demand pay-per-view.
I'm Sean Hannity. Last week, the Madison, Wisconsin School Board voted to ban the Pledge of Allegiance in public schools after some parents and teachers raised religious and political objections. Unbelievable. But during a time of war, should we allow political correctness to override patriotism? And we're going to be joined in just a minute from Madison, Wisconsin by Annie Laurie Gaylor. And, she is with us, all right. And also joining us here in New York, constitutional attorney Ann Coulter. But we also had another case, Annie, and shouldn't surprise you, out in Los Angeles, the Breen Elementary School in Rockland, California. They removed God Bless America. They wanted the sign removed from a marquee. Is it the word God that just offends you so much? Is that what it is?
Imagine if that marquee said, Allah bless America, or if it said, one nation under Allah. Would that offend you?
All right, just for the benefit of our audience, you are an atheist, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and what about Thomas Jefferson? Let's go back to, endowed by their creator. Would you want that removed?
That's in the Declaration of Independence.
I understand where it is, but I mean, would you is there any mention to God that you want out?
The Constitution is godless, and I'm very happy with that.
No, well, go ahead.
I wanted to say that sometimes people have to sit down for their rights. And my daughter in 6th grade is not standing up to say the Pledge of Allegiance because it says under God.
Yeah.
And this was added in 1954. It wasn't an original element of our secular.
With all due respect, it was far from godless, if you're aware of the First Amendment to the Constitution. And it was, and I'll send it to you, constitutional attorney Ann Coulter, they stopped the Constitution, as Ben Franklin did, for a moment for a moment to excuse me, Ann, for a moment to stop and reflect, and it's in Madison's notes. Go check it out.
Yeah, he didn't.
For
Nobody else wanted to do it.
Annie,
they didn't pray.
Ann Coulter, okay. So the history is very solid.
Well, right. No, I mean, in addition to the national motto being "In God We Trust" and on the currency, and having a chaplain for Congress and the Supreme Court start with "In God We Trust," I mean, all of that is true, but it reflects something I think much larger, which Americans tend to take for granted because we do live under unprecedented freedom. But what was striking about our revolution, the tea tax wasn't that high compared to the confiscatory taxes the Democrats want to put on us now. Yeah. It was a principle, and it was the idea that we are all equal under God, and therefore no one can be a dictator. No one can be the king.
Let's talk here about the principle of teaching a pledge and having students recite something, because one of the things you don't give up when you go to school is your free speech rights. And let me show you, for example, what the Supreme Court had to say about that. In the case of West Virginia State Board of Education versus Barnett in 1943, and they said if there's a fixed star, I'm sure you do, in our constitutional constellation, is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion, or force citizens to confess by word or act their faith therein.
Right, and
you
look
cannot
at what this
force a
school
child to say something.
Look what the school district is doing. All the Supreme Court held, and it's not like the Supreme Court has exactly been, Jerry Falwell's group on prayer in schools. All they held was that a Jehovah's Witness doesn't have to stand when the pledge is stated. These people are the ones imposing their atheism on the rest of the schools. And by the way, I would like to say, I am just so glad they're still liberals and you're still nuts, because otherwise I have nothing to do.
And I guess you've now reduced, rather than arguing the point, you've decided just to reduce yourself to name calling and calling me nuts. So I'll turn to our other guest, Annie Laurie Gaylor, who may be able to have an actual conversation besides name calling. The idea here is that it's okay to teach what the pledge means, and maybe in the context of democracy being the greatest form of government, but just pledge recitation doesn't necessarily teach that message.
No, I think that religious patriotism is very dangerous, and that when you combine the idea of country and God together, this is the most incendiary mix possible, that you don't have to be a good citizen in order to believe in God. This is like saying that unbelievers or minorities are not good citizens, and this is profoundly immoral.
I think right after this enormous attack on America, it might also be a good time for you guys to start promoting women in the military again, too, just to give you a few other ideas that are really popular right now.
That attack was faith-based. I mean, look what happens when religion and politics and religion and
we got to take a break. What it is a matter of tolerance on your part for the overwhelming majority's view on something that won't hurt you in any way.
What about the
Let
Bill
not
of
your
Rights?
heart be troubled, Danny. It's not going to hurt you at all when somebody says the pledge, and you can sit in your chair if you want. but you will be in the minority. We'll continue this on the other side of the break, straight ahead. And also, remember, log on to foxnews.com, and you can become an Alan Colmes fan. Stay with us.
Flags are back up. They're playing football again. And thousands of people are once again experiencing the simple joy of buying a new car. And GM is helping with interest-free financing on every car, truck, and SUV now through October 31st. Keep the dream alive. Keep America rolling.
Too many high-interest monthly payments? Why not pay them off with a second mortgage with a no closing cost option from Ditech.com? Apply online now or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED. And there is no equity required. Ditech Second Mortgage with a no closing cost option can help you to consolidate your high-interest debts into one low monthly payment. It's smart money from Ditech.com. Apply online now or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED.
They say the new car has powers magical. They say once you sit inside, you turn into a different person. In this car, I wish to ride.
The all-new Lexus ES 300, a new world of luxury.
Welcome back to Hannity and Colmes. I'm Alan Colmes and Lori Gaylor. You know, to use the argument that it's the majority and therefore that's correct is to totally ignore what the Bill of Rights actually says, which is the purpose of the Bill of Rights is to protect the minority from the majority when it comes to individual freedom. So I think that's an important point to make. I don't know if she's able to hear me or not. So let me. Did you hear what I said?
No, but they're the ones who are imposing their majority views on the school. I mean, the case you raised, and I don't disagree with that case. A Jehovah's Witness doesn't have to stand. And by the way, when we build the space shield, it's not going to protect the Jehovah's Witnesses.
You are insisting,
that's part of the crucial part of the missile shield.
You're insisting on the phrase "under God." Now, I may believe in God, and so may you, but you want to put this in the public domain where it is forcing your particular view down the throats of those who may not agree. You're the ones who seem intolerant.
What's going to happen?
You're the ones who therefore seem intolerant by doing that.
I think Sean raises a good point. Are you against the under God in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact. I don't think,
Are you against the Pledge of Allegiance?
But I'm not against God, and I think that point needs to be made, but I think it's important to state where we preach God, and, you know, conflating church and state is what the terrorists are doing.
That is what they're doing. Right. No. This is, I mean, this really is so historically inaccurate to forget about what the purpose, what the amazing thing about this country was, and it is from the Declaration of Independence.
No, it's the Constitution. You're a constitutional attorney. How can you say it is the Constitution?
That because we all have the same rights under God, there can be no king. I mean, otherwise it's just a matter of personal preference. You may prefer a democracy, but, you know, often dictators don't. They prefer being dictator. It's apparently fun.
The Supreme Court also said the history of man is inseparable from the history of religion. But, Annie, is it that you fear a theocracy? Is that what you fear?
Well, yes, and look at the whole wrath of the country has been directed to the Madison School Board. What if that same wrath is directed to a child who doesn't stand up or doesn't want to say the pledge? Think of the harassment and discrimination.
Do you feel that much wrath coming?
Well, listen, if you guys on the left supported vouchers, you could send them to little liberal schools and they don't have to say the pledge or mention God, and they can even come up with their own coinage that doesn't say "In God We Trust," I guess.
Children should not be singled out or harassed because of their lack of religion or being a religious minority.
No one's harassing them. Why is it that they can't just sit politely without, you know, losing their minds if God is mentioned? I mean, you describe this like all of these students are like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. It burns.
Wait, there's one.
It really is insane.
Hang on, Ann Coulter. There's one other point here. If her fear is a theocracy, as she said, prior to the Supreme Court decisions in the early 1960s, they had Bible reading and the Lord's Prayer in school, and we never had a state-sponsored religion.
And we got to go in 10 seconds.
Well, and there's a congressional chaplain. It was one of the first acts out of Congress, and we've been getting Supreme Court sessions.
We're just out of time, both Anns. We thank you all. What kills me to end the show now, but we got to do it. That's all the time we have left for tonight. Join us tomorrow night for more Fair and Balanced. But you're going to keep talking, aren't you? More Fair and Balanced debate tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, right here on Hannity and Colmes. Have a great night.
God bless this show.
A deadly outbreak of anthrax in Florida has the whole nation on edge. In California, Kentucky, and Maine, panic strikes. Could it come to your town? Is this the next act of terrorism? Now, we have the information you need on the deadly diseases experts think could be used in a bioterror attack. This is news you can't live without. Bioterrorism, the 7 deadly threats, starts right after the news.
I'm Carol Iavana, and here is the latest as America strikes back in the war on terror. Anthrax anxiety in America. How is the administration responding? Homeland Security correspondent Catherine Herridge is live in Washington with more. Catherine?
Carol, administration officials said today that sending anthrax threats through the mail is illegal, and anyone who does it will feel the full force of the law.
I really want to make it clear that to send a threat of anthrax through the mail or to communicate a threat with anthrax is against the law, a threat regarding chemical or biological warfare, and that the authorities, the federal authorities, the Justice Department will prosecute vigorously and aggressively.
Given that anthrax has been found in 3 states and there are a very limited number of cases, the administration moved to reassure people, saying there are enough drugs on hand to treat 2 million people for exposure to anthrax. And other resources are available, including 90 teams and 400 tons of medicine that can move at a moment's notice. At this point, administration officials said there was no conclusive evidence that germ warfare had been launched as a sequel to the September 11th attacks. And Carol, more resources are in the pipeline. We learned today that $1 billion will be asked of Congress to help counter bioterrorism.
Catherine, should we be relying solely on what the federal government can do, or will the local and state governments have a lot to do with this?
What we heard at hearings last week is that the federal agencies can only do so much and that they're relying on accurate information from the local level.
All right, Catherine, thank you very much. Our next update is at the bottom of the hour. Stay tuned for bioterrorism, 7 deadly threats, next.
Hello, I'm John Scott. There's new worry about the possibility of biological terrorism, and most of the nation is on edge. The fear started, of course, September 11th and escalated when a Florida man mysteriously died from anthrax. In this half hour, we're going to give you the facts on the 7 threats that the Centers for Disease Control have identified as potentially dangerous. First, Eric Shawn investigates anthrax.
Anthrax, how much of a threat? Not widespread, say experts, who note you cannot catch it from other people, and if discovered early on, antibiotics are able to stop it.
You can only get it if you breathe in the spores. Once you breathe in the spores, you can't breathe them out and give them to somebody else. So it's transmitted through the air.
What does seem so frightening is that anthrax can be sprayed or laced into aerosol form, like this. But experts insist terrorists would have a difficult time achieving that and dispersing anthrax in large doses. They note the bacterium does not survive very well out of the lab. Sunlight can kill it, and spreading thousands of anthrax spores would be complicated.
There are a lot of obstacles to making anthrax into an effective weapon.
Professor Thomas Johnson says the Japanese cult that successfully unleashed nerve gas into the Tokyo subway in 1995 also tried an anthrax attack, but it didn't work.
They had difficulty aerosolizing it, and second of all, they had difficulty getting those spores mature enough so that they were infective. So they infected no one.
Anthrax symptoms start with a cold, then develop into a bad case of the flu. The government says it has stockpiled enough antibiotics to fight an outbreak, but that people should still be on guard.
These are pretty horrible organisms, and people die. I mean, you find out very quickly how fragile humans can be.
Experts say the best weapon against anthrax is your doctor. If you feel the symptoms of the flu coming on, they urge you to make an appointment and not rely on the usual over-the-counter medications. That way you'll know if it's the flu or something far more ominous. In New York, Eric Shawn, Fox News.
In Florida, a criminal investigation is underway. All employees have been screened at American Media, the company where the anthrax victim worked. 2 have tested positive. Now, smallpox. If you think the vaccine you got when you were a kid will protect you today, think again. Here's David Asman.
Smallpox is caused by a virus. It is very, very contagious. One infected person, undiagnosed, not isolated, can infect a city, just one after the other.
It's been universally feared as the most devastating of all the infectious diseases.
Smallpox is probably classically the most terrifying biological weapon. It kills people quickly.
Unlike anthrax, this disease is spread from person to person and has a fatality rate of 30%.
The greatest threat when we say it's contagious, I mean just being near somebody with smallpox is extremely contagious. And there have been instances where we've known of one case to infect hundreds in the environment, and hundreds will infect thousands.
I think just about everyone's worried about smallpox right now. We stopped vaccinating the general public in the 70s, but unfortunately even those people have to realize those vaccinations may last up to only 10 years.
It's been eradicated worldwide, but now there is the threat that it may be making a deadly comeback.
This is a contagious illness. It runs its way around the globe. It doesn't stop at borders, and it doesn't pick just certain races.
The first visual sign of smallpox is easy to diagnose.
The first really diagnostic symptom is the rash. The rash is very characteristic. It affects the head and neck and the limbs.
The only way to stop a smallpox outbreak is if all the contaminated patients were completely isolated from the general public.
Taking antibiotics in advance does absolutely no good.
There is no treatment for smallpox, but here's something very important to know. There is a vaccine, and the vaccine is always being improved.
Vaccinations are the main protection, but they must be given prior to the infection in order to work.
Once you get it, you can be vaccinated early into your exposure, and at that point, about a third of the people die.
If an outbreak of smallpox were to occur even in a large city, the number of vaccine units we have is sufficient to contain the outbreak.
How likely, then, is a biological attack of smallpox?
The one thing we have to remember is there's only 2 known stores of the virus left in the world. One is in Atlanta at the CDC, and one is in vector labs in Russia. There's international treaties guarding the proliferation of these weapons, of these agents. So we can have pretty high confidence that the terrorists that were responsible for September 11th don't have access to smallpox.
In New York, David Asman, Fox News.
When we come back, a disease that was the scourge of the Middle Ages. It could change history again.
The worst case scenario is a localized contamination with infection and probably hundreds of people or thousands of people becoming ill.
Imagine combining the stain-fighting power of Efferdent and freshening power of Listerine. You'd get Efferdent Plus. It's extra fresh, and nothing gets your dentures cleaner. Efferdent Clean, Listerine Fresh. That's Efferdent Plus.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today.
I should have used Preparation H.
Preparation H medicated wipes with aloe, the easy way to cleanse, cool, and soothe. Easier because they're 4 times bigger than Tux pads. Preparation H medicated wipes, big relief.
Tens of thousands of people continue to purchase new Oldsmobiles, like the completely redesigned 2002 Bravada. Are they impressed with its best-in-class 270 horsepower engine? Are they impressed with its 5-year, 60,000-mile GM protection plan? Or are they simply impressed? Are you in the market? Get in an Oldsmobile, backed by GM. Right now, get interest-free financing on all new Oldsmobiles. Let's help keep America rolling.
Too many high-interest monthly payments? Why not pay them off with a second mortgage with a no closing cost option from Ditech.com? Apply online now or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED. And there is no equity required. Ditech Second Mortgage with a no closing cost option can help you to consolidate your high-interest debts into one low monthly payment. It's smart money from Ditech.com. Apply online now or call us at 1-800-71-FIXED.
This weekend, the news from the Beltway, up-to-the-minute coverage from overseas and the front lines. It's information you need from the channel America trusts. Our war on terror. Are the media holding back secrets? On the next Fox News Watch. The anti-terror hit list. Who's next and when? On the Beltway Boys.
Hi there, I'm Edie Donahue. Next week on Fox and Friends, what decisive factors will be used to help our military win the war? Colonel David Hackworth joins us 6 a.m.
You might think the plague is a disease of the past. It isn't. And as Rick Leventhal reports, it's one of the 7 deadly threats.
Pneumonic plague is caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis. Is a bacterium that's been around for many millennia. It lives on animals, particularly rats, and it's spread by fleas. The more common variety of plague infects the lymph nodes and the bloodstream, and of course it's highly fatal.
The plague, also known as the Black Death or pestilence. This disease has literally changed the course of history. 3 separate pandemics have broken out through time, destroying as much as half of the population. There are 3 different kinds of plague: bubonic, septicemic, and pneumonic.
The variety that is potentially a bioterrorist threat is called pneumonic plague, which is transmitted in droplet form, and that is contagious from person to person.
Plague is also something that has been weaponized, for example, by the former Soviet Union. In fact, they manufactured tons of plague and anthrax and smallpox and put it up on top of intercontinental ballistic missiles aimed at Western population centers.
While the threat from the former Soviet Union is gone, the threat from the plague is still very real.
The symptoms are similar to any kind of lung infection, with cough and fever, difficulty breathing, coughing up phlegm.
It's a bacterium, and there's no vaccine for it, of which I'm aware, but it's treatable. And just like anthrax is treatable if caught in time, it's also treatable, I believe, by Cipro and doxycycline.
Plague is a communicable disease, but it's only communicable in a certain time period of the exposure of the infection, and it's only communicable if you're within, I believe it's a 6-foot distance of the individual who has the disease and they're coughing.
While it may be hard to contract, if it goes untreated, plague can be deadly.
The worst case scenario, again, I'd like to say this is extremely remote, is a localized contamination with infection and probably hundreds of people or thousands of people becoming ill and a certain number of them dying, but the infection would be rapidly contained.
In New York, Rick Leventhal, Fox News.
Experts say plague could spread through the air, but it is highly unlikely. Another very real threat, botulinum toxin. As Todd Connor tells us, a harmless beauty secret could be anything but.
Botox. It's all the rage in cosmetic surgery, the skin-smoothing answer for anti-aging addicts. But what plastic surgeons don't tell you is that it is also a potentially deadly weapon, botulinum toxin.
Botulism toxin, which is produced by the bacterium Clostridium botulinum, is a very, very potent poison. It's a nerve poison, and a small amount can kill a person.
The toxin-causing bacteria is commonly found in soil, on fruits and vegetables, even seafood. Harmless in small quantities, it multiplies under the right conditions, producing botulinum toxin and causing the paralytic disease botulism.
Terrible. It was like being buried alive.
Approximately 100 cases of botulism are reported each year in the U.S. Symptoms develop within 18 to 36 hours of exposure.
The toxin that botulism, the bacterium, produces is a neurotoxin. It causes a paralysis that starts with nausea and dizziness and blurry vision and gradually can spread downward to affect the whole body. When the respiratory muscles are involved, death can ensue if it's not treated appropriately.
It's treated with an antitoxin. It's called a botulism antitoxin, which is injected as soon as the paralysis or the diagnosis is made. Paralysis sets in and the diagnosis is made. Emergency rooms have this antitoxin on hand.
To expose a significant quantity of the public to a botulism toxin is an extremely remote possibility. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I say it's extremely remote.
But attempts have been made. Om Shinrikyo dispersed botulinum toxin. At least 3 times between 1990 and 1995, aerosols were released in downtown Tokyo and at U.S. military bases. They finally released sarin gas in the Tokyo subway system with deadly effects. After the Persian Gulf War, Iraq admitted to producing 19,000 liters of botulinum toxin. That's more than 3 times the amount needed to wipe out the entire human population. That supply has since been contained.
In order to do harm to human beings with botulism toxin intentionally, one would have to know how to grow the bacterium in the correct method to get it to make the toxin in certain conditions of exposure to low oxygen levels, to collect enough toxin and then to distribute it widely and effectively is an extremely difficult situation to imagine.
In New York, Todd Connor, Fox News.
Like the botulinum toxin, many of these most dangerous diseases occur in nature. When we come back, the deadly Ebola virus.
Hemorrhagic fevers are a dastardly thing when they encounter humans. Basically, the body melts from the inside out, and there's not that much that can be done in terms of medical intervention. They rage on the human body.
The tragedy of September 11th was meant to cause fear among all Americans, including our children. We can't let that happen. Talk with your kids. Listen to them. Tell them that they are safe and that they are loved.
29, 30.
Now at Red Lobster, you can get 30 mouth-watering shrimp for just $9.99. Red Lobster, go overboard.
These little town blues are melting away. We'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If we can make it there, we'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York.
Come to Broadway and let's go on with the show.
Camry. Trust us, you're going to want one.
I'm not talking to you.
Now families can enjoy the ultimate web experience and use the phone line at the same time.
Hold on a sec. Don't you get it?
I think
she's in love.
Introducing Quest Connected Home. It's your home phone line with tons of great features, plus unlimited MSN broadband powered by Quest for just $72.90 a month. Now even get free activation, a $99 value. This is staying connected. This is riding the light. Quest.
What's the most expensive part of a car? The engine? The transmission? Well, for most of us, it's the financing. And that's important to know because right now, Landmark Ford is offering rates as low as 0% on all new cars and trucks. Finance this Mustang for 60 months and you'll save more than $8,000 in interest alone. More than $8,000. But the program ends soon, so see us now at Landmark Ford in Tiger, just off 55 at the Haines Street exit.
You've heard of Ebola. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first, a disease you've probably never heard of. Once again, here's Eric Shawn.
Tularemia is nicknamed rabbit fever because it is usually spread when humans come into contact with infected animals like deer, dog ticks, or rabbits.
There are treatments available, including a vaccine, but the vaccines available for most of what are called the biowarfare diseases are available at present only to military personnel, and even then sometimes a select few.
Like many naturally occurring biological warfare agents, tularemia was turned into a weapon.
Tularemia is a disease that has been weaponized by several nations for purposes of war. In fact, the United States even weaponized this disease. Essentially, it doesn't have a very high mortality rate. Roughly 30% of the individuals that might be infected would eventually die.
The plague-like illness, first identified in 1911, was studied by the Japanese during World War II. It may have been used on German and Soviet troops in Europe during that war. Military studies of tularemia continued in America until the early 1970s. And a former Soviet official has said their research continued until the 1990s. Like other biological agents, early symptoms of tularemia infection sound a lot like the flu.
There would be the same types of symptoms that would occur with an exposure to anthrax, a flu-like malaise, a headache, and other types of aches and pains. So it's true, it would be difficult to tell if this were the disease involved. But in all likelihood, and to believe you me, you're more likely to get struck by lightning than you are to be exposed to tularemia.
The disease can be treated with antibiotics, and victims suffer no long-term effects. If untreated, it is almost always fatal. Last year in Kosovo, over 600 came down with symptoms.
So far, there are 680 suspected cases. We set in motion very quickly an emergency team to deal with this matter. The disease is spread basically by rats drinking water and by ticks.
And in September of last year, there was an alarming outbreak much closer to home, on Martha's Vineyard.
It had gotten so bad with my stomach and my head, I even wanted to touch my hair, and I couldn't touch my hair. My head was exploding.
Of the 10 cases identified on Martha's Vineyard, only one was fatal. Eric Shawn, Fox News.
It could be called a modern-day plague, a deadly disease with no cure. John Gibson now on the filovirus.
In 1967, the world was confronted with a new deadly disease, the filovirus. It exists in two different strains, Marburg and Ebola.
Just a year or so ago, there were natural outbreaks of both of these diseases, Marburg and Ebola, in the heart of Africa. I think there's a heightened sensitivity right now in the United States because of all of the discussion of what worst could befall us next.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, there is no known origin or cure for these diseases. The symptoms include fatigue, high fever, and internal bleeding.
Hemorrhagic fevers are a dastardly thing when they encounter humans. Basically, the body melts from the inside out, and there's not that much that can be done in terms of medical intervention. They rage on the human body.
Filoviruses are spread by close personal contact, such as kissing. Ebola appeared in Africa off and on for 20 years, from 1976 to 1995. In '95, a large epidemic hit Zaire. Of the 316 people infected, 248 died. In other words, only 20% survived the Ebola outbreak.
You know, there is Ebola. There are reports that some of these terrorists have been looking into the possibility of marketing, if you will, Ebola. Who knows if they've been successful? That's a terrible virus that causes 100% of death.
While there is no cure, experts believe the best they can do is staunch the spread by isolating patients. Medical professionals are completely covered in biohazard suits.
Scientists of all people understand the devastating effect that these diseases could have if they were let loose in a civilian population.
Because it spreads so fast and there is no known cure, the use of this virus as a weapon could devastate an entire population. In New York, John Gibson, Fox News.
The last of the 7 deadly threats when we come back.
The flags are back up. They're playing football again. And thousands of people are once again experiencing the simple joy of buying a new car. And GM is helping with interest-free financing on every car, truck, and SUV now through October 31st. Keep the dream alive. Keep America rolling.
These little town blues are melting away.
We'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If we can make it there, we'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York.
Come to Broadway and let's go on with the show.
When I start each morning, when my kids need a playmate.
Prozac Weekly is here. Ask your doctor if it's right for you. For a limited time, you can try Prozac Weekly for 1 month free. Visit freemonth.webmd.com to learn more and print out your coupon from Prozac Weekly. Talk to your doctor today to see if Prozac Weekly could be right for you. Prozac Weekly is here.
My hands speak to me. They tell me secrets. They tell me of time and patience. At least, that is what my hands say. The all-new Lexus ES 300. A new world of luxury.
This weekend, the news from the Beltway, up-to-the-minute coverage from overseas and the front lines. It's information you need from the channel America trusts. Our war on terror. Are the media holding back secrets? On the next Fox News Watch. The anti-terror hit list. Who's next and when? On the Beltway Boys.
Hi there, I'm Edie Donahue. Next week on Fox and Friends, what decisive factors will be used to help our military win the war? Colonel David Hackworth joins us 6 a.m.
The last of the 7 threats is very similar to the virus that causes Ebola. Here's Derry Alexander.
The arenaviruses are a family of viruses that can cause deadly fevers, seen here as the tiny dots circled at the top of this infected cell. The viruses spread through urine or droppings of mice, rats, and other rodents. Airborne or aerosol transmission through dust contaminated by rodents is also a possibility.
The people that are going to get sick usually within about a week with very severe disease causing them to seek medical care, and that may be not being able to breathe and needing a ventilator. It may be bleeding out their gastrointestinal tract. It may be severe liver problems.
There's such a heightened awareness right now of all this possibility of biological warfare agents, but what doesn't seem to be recognized is these are diseases that occur naturally in nature, and sometimes there will be a transmission from an animal to a human.
That's probably what happened in 1999. when 3 California women died from exposure to the virus. None of the victims could be linked with one another, and officials strongly believe that the virus was responsible for other unexplained deaths as well. The arenavirus is related to viruses that cause hemorrhagic or vascular damage. So far, there is no cure, and it can cause horrible deaths.
We don't know a lot about this virus, and there may be other hosts that could carry it.
But unlike the severe vascular damage found in Ebola, the bleeding caused by the arenavirus usually reflects widespread damage rather than life-threatening injury. In New York, Derry Alexander, Fox News.
Now, it's important to point out that while these diseases are in fact deadly, experts say that Americans need not panic. Doctors are being trained, treatment plans are in motion, and further, these diseases are very difficult to contain and spread. Now, if you'd like more information, you can check our website. Thanks for watching. I'm John Scott. Good night.
Hello, I'm Lori Dew. This week on Fox Magazine, a brave mother risks her life and goes to ground zero to save her son. And you will hear the whole frightening story. And what is the future of television in the shadow of the September 11th attacks? Then a special story of the people behind the scenes during the worst disaster ever on American soil. And you will never believe who lives in this opulent Hollywood mansion. Stay tuned.
I'm Carol Iavana. Here are the latest developments as America strikes back. Another possible sign that U.S. raids are taking a toll on the Taliban. Intelligence officials for the Taliban have asked opposition commanders to switch sides and join the Taliban against U.S.-led attacks on Afghanistan. The Muslim world has mostly rejected the call to arms, but anti-U.S. protests continued in Pakistan and elsewhere. With anti-American sentiment strong, the United States is on high alert. And National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice says it will stay that way for some time. Rice denies reports that al-Qaeda has access to nuclear weapons, and she urges Americans not to fear that kind of threat. Secretary of State Colin Powell is on a diplomatic mission in Asia to shore up the anti-terror coalition. Powell will visit Pakistan and India to thank them for supporting the war on terror, but also to keep tensions between the two countries from complicating those efforts. The FBI has checked student records at a truck driving school outside Denver. Agents are looking for 25 to 30 Arab men who paid cash to take a truck driving course at Careers in Trucking over the past 2 years, but reportedly finished without trying to look for a job. And Center for Disease Control officials in Florida are now saying that the additional test cases that showed positive exposure to anthrax may have been false positives. Fox News has learned the results may have been misinterpreted because the test is not normally used to determine if a person has anthrax. Our next update is at the top of the hour. Fox Magazine is next. You're watching Fox News Channel, America's source for fair and balanced news. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Fox Magazine. Our cover story this week is a story of the heroism of one determined woman, Wiki Boyle, who, with no thought for her own safety, rushed into the heart of the disaster area to bring her son and his classmates out of harm's way.
On September 11th in the morning, I sent my kids off as normal from our loft in Tribeca, where I'd lived for over 25 years in the shadow of the World Trade Center. In a way, we sort of reached our primacy together. And I'd made coffee and I was going to start writing, and I was talking to my husband, who was getting ready to go on a business trip, and he was going to leave and go out to Newark Airport when we heard this huge roar go over our bedroom. And I said to him, wow, that doesn't sound good. And then there was a thud. Not an explosion, but a big thud, like a huge giant kicking something. And I said to him, if this is like '93, when something happened to the World Trade Centers, we're going to hear the emergency vehicles in a second. And sure enough, we did. We ran up to the roof, and we could see the World Trade Center, the fire just coming out, and it seemed
totally unreal. As I was standing up there, I said to my husband, those buildings are going to tip. And the sense was not that they were going to explode or fall over, but just like a child builds a tower too high and it's unwieldy and it tips over. And all I could envision was the towers tipping and my son's school right in the trajectory of that tip. And my husband and my neighbor said they're going to be fine, don't go over there and, you know, make everybody crazy, because I'm a little energetic. And I went downstairs and I tried to be calm, watching for 15 more minutes, and I just said, I'm going. This is it. I'm going. And I threw on some sweatpants and I got my bicycle, and I go everywhere by bicycle. And I rode down the street over to the West Side Highway, and there was a sea of humanity coming at me. People just covered in debris, screaming, you know, mouths open. And, you know, I saw neighbors, and I was like on a path. I was on a mission. That was it. I have to say that I wasn't even afraid. I was just stupidly looking ahead, and that was it. Got to the school, dropped my bike, dropped my purse, went into the cafeteria, and here are all these kids, just as goofy as ever, these 12 and 13-year-old kids that are my son's friends, the little tiny kids. Everybody was just in the cafeteria, like when we try to have a PTA meeting. And I found Henry, and, you know, and I just flung myself on him, and I said, who's going with me? Who wants to go with me? And the principal said, you know, you can't take other people's kids. And I said, I'm going to write up a permission slip right here. I said, Ellen, I'm taking these kids. We got to go. We got to get the kids out of here. We're going to stop at every corner. We're going to count, and we're going to go. We're going to go right now. We ran across the West Side Highway. The cars and the emergency vehicles are going every which way. And, of course, when we cross the highway, everybody looks back. There's this huge rumbling sound like a waterfall, and at that point we all turned around and you could see the building dropping. And it's like a queuing theory that you do in your head. How long will it take before that gets to me? I said to them, all my kids up against the wall, and we got up against the wall, and we breathed, and we could see this stuff coming at us, and the place where they all fell apart was when their school was covered. It was like this veil went over their school, and some of them started screaming, my little sister's in there. This one boy started saying to me, my mother is in the World Trade Center. And I just said to them, you know, everybody's going to be fine. Everybody that we know is going to be fine. We separated kids, and we got to the next corner, and then we turned inland to my house. And at that point, we couldn't see it anymore, and there's sort of that sense of hiding under the covers, and if it can't see you and you can't see it, then you're safe. And we ran home, and we got everybody upstairs, and then I decided I had to feed these 12 kids. So I went across the street to the deli and got, you know, 5 pounds of turkey and loaves of bread. And we came back, and the second tower hit, and that was when everybody went really crazy. And Henry said we should put on Christmas videos. We should put on Charlie Brown's Christmas. So we put on Charlie Brown's Christmas, and we started calling to find the parents, and we started calling, we started using cell phones, we started emailing, anything we could do. And in fact, we did. We found everybody, including the boy whose mother worked in the World Trade Center, who hadn't gone to her meeting that morning. And it was this sense of recreating normalcy and the quotidian of everyday life, that having this extraordinary play date where these kids were all together, and then we were finding the parents to take them and go on with their lives.
And Wiki and her son are doing just fine as they continue to cope with the after effects of the tragedy. And Wiki still rides her bike every day. Coming up next, will television ever be the same?
It still remains to be seen over the long run, will people really feel that watching people being backstabbing with each other, or being upset about not winning $1 million, or being in conditions that are considered rough when we've had really, really rough conditions here in the U.S., do people really want to tune into this?
A crisis at home. She snuck out. An assassin at large.
We have reason to believe an attempt will be made on David Palmer's life.
For federal agent Jack Bauer.
In the next 24 hours, I want you all over this.
It's going to be one hell of a day.
It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up.
Find a shooter, Jack.
It's just one of those days.
If you ever want to see your daughter again, get me out of this!
Who are you working for? You have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
TV Guide, Rolling Stone, and USA Today all agree 24 is the best new show of the season.
It's just one of those days!
Time magazine calls it super cool, and the New York Times says it's the hot show to watch. 24 premieres Tuesday, November 6th on Fox.
It's just one of those days!
Moo.
It's a great feeling to be upgraded from a regular room to a luxury suite. Well, now you can get that same feeling when you buy a Gateway computer. Because right now, when you buy a Gateway 300S featuring the Intel Celeron processor, Gateway will give you 2 free upgrades, an extra-large monitor, and a built-in CD burner. So you can get everything for just $7.99. Don't you just love upgrades?
Offer ends November 18th, so stop by or call 1-800-GATEWAY today.
Grab it! This is Pledge Grab It Citrus. I already know exactly where to use it. It's picking up all the cobwebs. This scent is delicious. You grab that little crumb and it hasn't dropped it. It's all dog hair and dust. Fresh citrus smell. Grab it! Don't mind me because I'm just going to keep cleaning.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am
An American.
I am an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American. I'm an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
Welcome back to Fox Magazine. Our next story. As Americans bravely begin to rebuild shattered dreams and broken hearts, the writers of primetime television are scrambling to write and rewrite their scripts. What effect has this had on what you're about to see this season? We asked an expert.
Well, the week of the attack, obviously everything became about news. Cable news, the anchors. What happened was television really united the country. Television became the common thread of this country. People needed to go to television to find out information, and people went to television to be comforted. So all of a sudden, you know, the big anticipation of the fall season, which is certainly something that we participate in here at TV Guide, gets put aside, and for obvious reasons. In terms of comedies and dramas, people all too quickly understood that those were put on hold, and we needed the information and the reassurance of network and cable news. With the fall season being pushed back, it obviously affected the bottom line at networks. When you stop production on a show, you're going to lose money. When you don't have commercials running on your network, you're going to lose a lot of money, which the networks did. Also, with the uncertainty as to how the writers should approach the content of these shows, that just adds another dimension to it. The West Wing, if there was going to be any show that was going to reflect what has happened in this country, obviously it's the West Wing. I think they really felt an obligation to address the attacks in some respect. What Aaron Sorkin did, which I thought was admirable, was he quickly threw together a script and a show that reflected terrorism. He didn't focus too much on what the specific attack was, but he attempted, I think, to open up a dialogue as to what are the root of the issues between Muslims and Americans. And I think that he was right in not showing any terrorist actions, not showing anything blow up, not doing action sequences that Hollywood is so known for, because we've seen all too many images of that, real images of that lately. In the new series 24 on Fox starring Kiefer Sutherland, he plays a government agent who's trying to thwart a potential assassination on a presidential candidate. There's a scene in that first show, that pilot show, of a plane blowing up. The producers obviously thought it was inappropriate to have that scene, so they edited it out of the show. It will not be airing when that show premieres in early November. What's interesting about the reality shows so far is they have not been doing well. Amazing Race has not been doing great numbers for CBS. Love Cruise, The Mole, these shows have really not had great ratings. Now, the one show that may be able to break through it, because it was the first show that was really the phenomenon that started it all, is Survivor. But it still remains to be seen over the long run, will people really feel that watching people being backstabbing with each other, or being upset about not winning $1 million, or being in conditions that are considered rough when we've had really, really rough conditions here in the U.S., do people really want to tune into this? We don't know at this point in time what will happen next in terms of this country's actions, potential actions against us. Obviously, people are still watching a lot of news at this time, but there's already signs that viewers are ready to go back to the programming that they knew and loved before and really comforted them. Friends has great ratings, has opened really strong this season. There's even a new show, Crossing Jordan, on NBC, which is also doing really well. So there are signs that we want to get back to the shows that were kind of old standbys, made us feel good, made us laugh. I think we'll be seeing more and more of that, actually, as the season goes on.
Well, speaking of Hollywood, what would stars like Elizabeth Hurley, Meg Ryan, and Elizabeth Taylor think if they knew Osama bin Laden's brother was their neighbor in posh Bel Air? Coming up next, another way to deal with the tragedy of September 11th.
We have to be able to figure out how to cry and laugh at the same time.
For 90 years, we've kept Americans moving, and there's no reason to stop now. Chevrolet. Right now, get 0% financing on every new car we build. Malibu, Cavalier, Impala. The cars behind a nation that never slows down. And you can own one, interest-free. Keep America rolling. See your local Chevy dealer today. We'll be there.
New Balance store. Come to the New Balance store. Come to the New Balance store. Come to the New Balance store. You fit right in. Come to the New Balance store. You fit right in. Come to the New Balance store. You fit right in. You fit right in.
Downtown Portland.
AT&T Broadband.
Mystery. Tuesdays on the Discovery Channel, you're on the case. A homicide leaves behind only one clue. The suspects are rounded up. The puzzle comes together. Will the last piece bring Lady Justice her killer? Connect the clues, find the link, and solve the case.
AT&T Broadband brings you new detectives on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
Serving the greater Portland area, we're AT&T Broadband.
Hi, I'm Ed Gollaby, owner of Sunglow Heating and Air Conditioning. Natural gas still costs less. Replace your old oil or electric heating system with a warm, safe, and efficient Bryant gas furnace and save on heating costs for years to come. For only $19.89, purchase this Bryant 80% efficient natural gas furnace and choose between a free gas water heater or a $100 factory rebate. Sunglow has been serving Oregonians for over 25 years with factory-trained technicians you can trust. Call Sunglow for a free prompt estimate and start saving now.
Steve Allen, the original host of late night television, once said, "Tragedy plus time equals comedy." It took some time, and life as we know it will never quite be the same. But now Mr. Allen's successors are back making insomniacs laugh. The comedy clubs are filling up, and people are smiling just a little bit more.
How and when does a comedian go back to doing their job when the country is still shaken by great tragedy? They tiptoe.
In a world where people fly airplanes into buildings for the sole purpose of killing innocent people, a job like this seems incredibly irrelevant.
I have never, ever felt more unsure or more at a loss than I do tonight.
But then after the tears, permission to laugh.
We have to be able to figure out how to cry and laugh at the same time.
Can we be funny?
Why start now?
People are definitely not looking for reality types of shows. People are interested in the tried and the true. They're turning on to old favorites, old comedies that we love.
We're going to try something called covert comedy. You may not be aware of it, but it's there.
Comedy can alleviate some pain, but it must take an appropriate risk.
I did not contact the Taliban. They, in fact, contacted me.
What happened was this. I had a hang-up on my machine. So I star 69.
The idea that it's a guilty, almost a guilty pleasure to be having fun now, I think is a wasted energy. I think that you have to get on with your life. That's what the president says. That's what everyone that you hear on TV says. You have to get on with your life. Mayor Giuliani always says, go shopping, see a play, see a movie. I don't think people should feel guilty about that.
We were all shaken up. Everyone's, you're hurting, and but then there's that process that you start to come back to yourself, and you start to want to fight back and want to repair the damage and want to keep going.
The person who I've seen handle it best was Chris Rock. He did a benefit a couple of nights ago where he was working with Jerry Seinfeld, and his jokes were about the United States and why people hate us because we send them food, but it's grain. And he looks around the audience and says, anybody here ever eat grain? You ever drive to McGraney's? And he did jokes about, we're not really fighting a country, we're fighting a guy. A bad guy, but a guy. And that's about as far as you can take it.
It looks now like the Mets have blown the pennant. So I guess things are really getting back to normal.
Fox magazine has uncovered so many troubling stories from the day America was attacked. Now, one of the 911 dispatchers tells of how he and others handled those frantic calls from the police and firemen on the morning of September 11th, 2001.
And then I get another phone call. A woman says, I just saw another plane go into the building. It deliberately went into the building. And then I'm like, oh my God, we're being attacked.
I really feel bad for the men that had to run inside that building. I couldn't imagine what was going through their mind, except that they were doing what I was doing their job.
For something like this to happen, I think it's a total disgrace. If you have a problem with issues or anything else, you don't go ahead and destroy two major buildings and take thousands of lives for no reason.
These are the voices of the fire department dispatchers. They assigned the crews and fielded emergency calls from those trapped on the upper floors of the Twin Towers.
I felt guilt when the building came down. I felt very bad because I told them to stay there. And I had no idea they weren't going to get help.
And now, some of the most frantic moments. Police officers trying to communicate with each other are surfacing on the net.
No one can forget the searing images of September 11th and the loss. It's everywhere in this city and felt by the entire nation. But hearing the voices of the emergency teams and their dispatchers seems to bring us even closer to the horror they faced.
And they hope none of us will ever face this again.
Right now, the entire group here, whoever was working that day, is more tight group now. Because we've all experienced something from the very beginning to the end. And it has brought us a lot closer together.
I just hope and pray that no one else has to experience that.
Coming up next, this is why they call them man's best friends.
And every once in a while, during the worst of it, we were there the first few days. One of those firemen with the very, very far-away eyes and broken hearts would ask me, "Can I pet your dog?"
A crisis at home.
She snuck out.
An assassin at large.
We have reason to believe an attempt will be made on David Palmer's life.
For federal agent Jack Bauer.
For the next 24 hours, I want you all over this.
It's going to be one hell of a day.
It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up.
Find a shooter, Jack.
It's just one of those. If you ever want to see your daughter again, get me out of this.
Who are you working for? You have no idea what you're getting yourself into.
TV Guide Rolling Stone and USA Today all agree 24 is the best new show of the season.
It's just one of those days!
Time magazine calls it super cool, and the New York Times says it's the hot show to watch. 24 premieres Tuesday, November 6th on Fox.
It's just one of those days!
Shocking tragedies have occurred and America is in mourning. A long period of uncertainty and recovery awaits us all. The American Red Cross is providing life-saving assistance, including precious blood, food, shelter, and grief counseling. We honor our heroic relief workers, victims, and their families. Please call 1-800-GIVE-LIFE to donate blood or 1-800-HELP-NOW to offer financial support. Together, we can save a life.
I'm Paris. I was born in Santo Domingo.
I am an American. I was born in Tehran, Iran.
This is my sister Helen.
I'm very proud to say I am proud to be an American.
I'm half Arabic and half German. I'm an American.
I'm a teacher. I was born in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm Lebanese American.
I'm a Spanish-Irish Jew.
Russian and Polish.
I'm a New Yorker.
And I'm an American.
Over time, colorectal cancer can be deadly, but screening tests can help prevent this disease or find it early when treatment works best. This is one cancer you can stop. If you're over 50, screen for life.
I started here before there was a Fox News channel. There were 3 reporters at the time, and we covered everything that happened. I can remember distinctly covering the Republican National Convention in San Diego, going straight from that to a hurricane, going straight from that hurricane to the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, going straight from that to the White House, and then to the Pentagon for a few days, and then going back to another hurricane. We were on the road for 42, 43 days after having packed for a week. It's crazy.
The men and women who have the very tough job of rescue and recovery at Ground Zero are aided by man's best friend. These specially trained dogs are sensitive animals and amazing in every way. And looking at them, you would almost think they're human.
I can only imagine it would be what hell looks like. Total destruction, loss of life, no sign of life.
Yet they keep digging. Their best chance of finding a miracle in the mud and debris? One of some 300 specially trained search and rescue dogs rushed to the site from around the country.
The only thing that worked down there were the dogs, though. All the modern technology just didn't work.
Scott Shields and his dog Bear were among the first on the scene.
It was like a volcanic eruption. The ash covered any way for heat-sensing devices to work.
Clouds of that choking ash filled the dog's nostrils, making it hard to breathe, while lethal shards of jagged metal cut at their paws like razors. But still, they continued to come. From as far away as Oklahoma and Puerto Rico, their help a godsend to the thousands waiting on any word of a missing loved one.
I'm with the New Jersey Task Force 1. I'm a canine specialist. Here we're at one of our training sites in Patterson, and we're going to be working the dogs today.
We're going to work.
Dogs have short-term memory. They don't remember things for years. It's all positive. You have to have a good play session after the dog has a find. You want to bring the dog up, get his spirits up. Make finding a live person a game.
A lot of it is really training the handler. The dogs are very smart. They have a wonderful nose. People have this romantic idea about dog handlers, that we just go out and find people. But there is so much more to it. We have to be trained in navigation, in survival skills, in hazardous materials. There's so much training that people don't understand that the handlers have to go through.
What we have here is a simulated rubble pile. It was actually part of a building that was pushed through the wall. This here is a hatch we built onto the pile. Our victim is placed inside the hatch. The reason we're using the wood hatch is the victim has to be inaccessible to the dog. The dog will free range the building, search the building. He'll be sent through directions to different areas to search. The dog will have an indication of human scent. We'll work the pile, pinpoint the victim. The dogs need to build up frustration on trying to get to the victim to give you the bark alert.
The training continues, but for the dog handlers, as well as all the rescue workers, and those who lost loved ones, the healing will take time.
I guess one of the worst things I had was thinking about what those firemen went through in the stairwell. That's the toughest part.
Getting back to normal has been hard, and there's still a lot of phone calls. Everything's still on TV. It's just ongoing, so it's going to be a while for everybody.
As you know, I'm a canine handler, and every once in a while, during the worst of it, we were there the first few days, one of those firemen with the very, very far away eyes and broken hearts would ask me, "Can I pet your dog?" And of course I would never refuse. The dog was working alongside them. And they would stop what they were doing and they'd put their arm around the dog and they'd give the dog a hug and whisper stuff to the dog. And then they'd go back to work, but they looked a little bit better. They might have had a tiny bit of a grin on their face for a minute. And I don't know what they said to the dog, what the dog said back to them. He'll certainly never tell me, but I know that it was good.
Thank you for joining us. For Fox Magazine, I'm Lori Dew. I hope we'll see you next week.
This week on Fox News Watch, the media and the military. Has there been too much coverage? Too little coverage? What kind of coverage? The media and anthrax. Same questions. Too much? Too little? What kind? Why are people who make war talking to people who make movies? Why was every other network so upset at CNN? And will the world of editorial cartoons ever be the same?
I'm Kieran Chetry with the latest now as America strikes back. Another day of bombing in Afghanistan. Meantime, in the U.S., the possibility of more anthrax exposure is keeping Americans on high alert. The government is also taking no chances. Homeland Security correspondent Catherine Herridge is live in Washington with more for us. Catherine.
Current administration officials issued a stern warning saying it's illegal to send anthrax threats through the mail, and anyone who does it will feel the full force of the law.
I really want to make it clear that to send a threat of anthrax through the mail or to communicate a threat with anthrax is against the law, a threat regarding chemical or biological warfare, and that the authorities, the federal authorities, the Justice Department will prosecute vigorously and aggressively.
Given that anthrax has been found in 3 states and there are a very limited number of cases, administration officials said there are enough drugs on hand to treat 2 million people for 60 days. And other resources are available, including 90 teams and 400 tons of medicine that can move at a moment's notice. At this point, officials say there's no conclusive evidence that germ warfare has been launched as a sequel to the September 11th attacks. And there are more resources in the pipeline. A deal has been struck to ask Congress for another $1 billion to counter bioterrorism. Kieran?
Catherine Herridge live for us in Washington. Thank you. That is our update for now. We'll see you back here again at the bottom of the hour. I'm Kieran Chetry. Fox News Watch is coming up next. Eric Burns and his panel of media watchdogs cover the coverage. That's next here on the Fox News Channel.
It may be the most important story that most reporters will ever cover. How are they covering it? Answers from Jim Pinkerton of Newsday, Jeff Cohen, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, Jane Hall of the American University in Washington, D.C., and syndicated columnist Cal Thomas, who today is in Sacramento, California. I'm Eric Burns in New York. Fox News Watch is coming right up. All right, Jane, it's been almost a week of coverage of our attacks on Afghanistan. Tell me your thoughts about how the coverage has been.
I think that people should be pretty proud of the media in terms of the restraint they've shown. I haven't seen any examples where people went against what the government so far has asked them to do. The one thing I do disagree with, and I felt I needed to know as a citizen, was that the government had said they thought there was a 100% chance of a reprisal. And Bush, as you know, got very angry about that because congressional people told the media that. I thought that was too extreme on his part, and he seems to pull back from that.
Cal, let us talk a little about that restraint. The major news organizations have agreed with President Bush that they will edit future videos that come from bin Laden. As you know, before the attacks started, on the Friday before they started, 17 news organizations knew about the attacks, agreed to sit on the news until the attacks began. I think, as Jane suggests, we have to be pleased so far, or at least we have to admit that there has been restraint.
Yes, I think that's good, Eric. We didn't allow unfettered access to our media by Tokyo Rose and Joseph Goebbels for the Japanese and the Nazis during World War II. We didn't allow Ho Chi Minh during the Vietnam War to make unedited pronouncements in the American media. I think this is news judgment, and I was concerned initially with CNN's deal with this Arab network that allowed a lot of that unedited stuff to be dumped into the American media and the American mind. I think journalists have a responsibility to cover the news and certainly to put on information. But I certainly don't like unedited statements from Osama bin Laden, which are designed possibly to send code messages to terror cells still here, but at the very least to have unfettered access to tweak with the minds of Americans.
But you know what, Jeff, initially I thought from what I'd read that because of the possibility of code, the government did not want these messages broadcast intact. But in fact, Condoleezza Rice said this was a secondary reason. The primary reason was that bin Laden tapes or statements might incite more violence against Americans. Are those two good, solid reasons for not running these tapes or statements unedited?
I don't think they should be run unedited. I'm a little bothered that the networks have been so acquiescent. These are decisions that the journalists should be making. I believe
but they made the decision to go along with what the White House.
One of them put out a statement that they're going to keep looking to the White House for guidance. I think it's a journalistic decision. The White House has got other decisions it's making. I think these things are very newsworthy, these statements from bin Laden.
And you would run them how, Jeff?
I would run them edited. I would never have, I'm a longtime critic of cable news just getting raw data and throwing it on full. I would run it edited after looking to see what's newsworthy and what's just inflammatory.
We don't know yet what you would do.
I would run them unedited. I'm intensely curious about this guy. I think the world needs to know. I think the things he said in the statement about these weird references to Andalusia to 80 years ago, 80 years ago appears to refer back to various UN or League of Nations actions about the Palestinian mandate and so on, the fate of the Ottoman Empire.
Jim, if you knew for a fact that Andalusia was a code word which was going to suggest certain actions to certain people who were bin Laden's followers in this country, would you still run the tape?
If I knew for a fact that Andalusia were a code word, I would also know that it would be on Al Jazeera TV, it would be on the internet, it would be all over the place. Look, the British press, the European press are covering this story like crazy. Censoring ourselves is not going to do us any good. What we clearly lack is understanding of who these guys are and why they're doing what they're doing.
And so the more video, the more words, the better the understanding is the implication.
Well, I probably would have aired it once. I share the feeling that I thought, oh my God, this is what we're up against. And I got a feeling for the propaganda and the skill that this man has had in getting his message, in getting the people to identify with Palestine. Therefore, I thought it was very harrowing to watch. I would have aired it once and probably followed with what the government said after that.
Eric, let me jump in something on and pick up on what Jane said about propaganda. It was interesting that Matt Lauer of NBC's Today Show used that very word in an accusatory way in an interview with the head of the humanitarian aid drops on Afghanistan, saying virtually that this was a propaganda effort. So I think we're seeing some cynicism begin to creep back into the media. Bob Schieffer of CBS suggested that Republicans oppose the federalizing of security people at airports because that would mean these people would have to join unions, and most union people vote Democrat. So we had a month of pretty much rah-rah patriotism. Let's get behind the effort of protecting America. But now many in the media, some at least, are reverting to type.
But what we have still, Cal, is tremendous support for the media on the part of people who are watching the news, reading the news. Pew Research Center for the People in the Press in Washington, D.C., I think these are some amazing findings. Surveyed people how they think the media are doing covering our present crisis. almost 90% said that they thought the media were doing either a good or excellent job. Jim, does that surprise you that the people are so united with the press, who they show so much disdain for at other times?
When the story drives the media do fine. There's events to be covered. When the media picks its own judgment and they say we're going to, do Operation Tailwind, for example, and slander the U.S. military, that's when they get in trouble. So I think if the story speaks for itself in this case.
I think the media might have sunk to its lowest in the eyes of the public when it was doing Monica Lewinsky month after month and then Gary Condit month after month. Now the media are focusing on a subject that's of crucial importance to everybody's life, and the American people know it, and they're appreciative that the story selection makes a little sense nowadays.
Jane, what do you think about that? Does it surprise you to know that 9 out of 10 Americans think the media are doing a good job?
It was heartening to me. I was surprised the numbers were that great, and I hope that they continue, because I think the media have been doing a good job, and I agree it is so much better to be focused on this story that really matters than some trivial sex scandal.
While we're handing out praise, let's not forget that on Sunday, I watched this in LA Times, within 2 hours of the bomb starting to drop, 3 networks, Fox, CBS, and NBC, went back to football games. I mean, it's like casual, we're bombing a country, ho-hum.
We have to take a break. When we come back, the media and a serious illness of suspicious origin.
The deadly disease is anthrax. The victims employed by a supermarket tabloid. Was terrorism involved? And if so, was it because of tabloid headlines like these?
One company provides total document solutions for business. One company offers digital copiers that scan, print, fax, and finish. One company makes the most earth-friendly printers and copiers on the planet. One company has a printer drum that lasts 30 times longer. One company. Kyocera Mita.
There are a lot of used cars to choose from, but Honda certified used cars come with a factory warranty and have passed a rigorous 150-point inspection. So you'll almost never find a Honda put out to pasture.
If you're over 50, this message is for you. Over time, if undetected, colorectal cancer becomes a killer. But screening tests can find it early when treatment is most effective. Even better, this is one cancer you can prevent. Screening finds precancerous polyps that can be removed before they turn into colorectal cancer. So stop this disease in its tracks. Medicare and many insurance plans help pay for screening. See your doctor and screen for life.
I'm Paris. I was born in Santo Domingo.
I am an American. I was born in Tehran, Iran.
This is my sister Helen.
I'm very proud to say I am proud to be an American.
I'm half Arabic and half German. I'm an American.
I'm a teacher. I was born in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm Lebanese American.
I'm a Spanish Irish Jew. Russian and Polish.
I'm a New Yorker.
And I'm an American.
Weeknights at 9, The Practice is on FX. See where it all began. The Emmy Award-winning series, The Practice, 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on FX.
This weekend, the threat of retaliation, the safety of our country. Coverage continues with live reports, confrontation, commentary, and heated debate. Stay with the Fox News Channel. Rooting out terror on a special live edition of Hannity Colmes. Bioterrorism, security. What will it take to keep America safe? Homeland, defending Americans. A Fox News Channel special.
A number of cases of anthrax have been reported in the United States in recent days. Some of the victims are, or were, employed by the media. And Cal, this seems to me a very difficult story to cover. First of all, it's domestic. This is not us bombing Afghanistan. This is maybe someone attacking us here. You've got to alarm people to the extent of letting them know of the possible danger, but you can't alarm them too much because we don't know the source of the anthrax yet. So I think journalists have to walk a very fine line with this one.
Well, they do, Eric, and there's a way to blame the reaction by the media in two ways. Before, we can blame the media for not informing us enough. This is the first anniversary week of the USS Cole bombing. There were a lot of signals in the Arab media and in other places and threats about what these terrorists were going to do to us. The indictment of the media then was not taking it seriously enough and preparing not only the military but the rest of us for attacks. Now, if we go too far into panic mode in the media, by doing too much, there can be the accusation, and properly grounded, I think, of creating panic. But on the other hand, we need to know about these things. The media has been good in saying that, okay, while anthrax may be out there, it is not as bad as some other biological agents. What I would like to see is not just focusing on one or two potential biological threats, but I've noticed a number of other stories. There was one in the Sacramento Bee here in California about the other agents for which we have no defense at all. I think this is important to get out as well.
Well, as long as we're talking about critiquing the media as well, I would like to see more reporting, not necessarily blaming, but reporting on why it was that the FBI and the CIA were so flat-footed. You know, what kinds of intelligence have we been gathering? Why do we lack intelligence about this? I haven't seen enough, other than an article in the New Yorker by Seymour Hersh.
But maybe,
looking
Jane,
back at that.
But isn't that the kind of thing we should do later? Because right now,
here we are looking at bioterrorism, and I'm afraid we're too dazzled by.
But the threats are so real. The threats are so real right now. Is this really the time to say, how did we get into this position of ignorance?
But it has connections to how well prepared are we if somebody releases anthrax.
I certainly wouldn't wait. I think that reporting is long overdue. I think we're in a very sensitive area with like biotech and chemical weapons. You want to give solid reporting for the American people. You don't want to give so many details that it might give a would-be terrorist ideas and help. And that's the problem. I think one area that hasn't been covered enough nationally is the terrorist threats to nuclear reactors. And I know Time magazine did something called Diagnosing the Risks, where they talked about all sorts of chemical weapons and bioweapons and how they might attack our food supply and our water supply. They didn't even mention nuclear reactors. I was in San Luis Obispo, California, where they have Diablo Canyon nearby, and there was some reporting in the local Tribune that had some quotes that were very scary.
There have been 4 serious commission reports on terrorism in the last decade, and I think you could fit in a thimble the amount of coverage they've gotten, all of which were saying, you know, in one way or another, chemical, biological, nuclear terrorism was possible. We're all incredibly guilty, all of us, of being careless and foolish and short-sighted about these threats.
But you know, Cal, what I think we have to do now very specifically, and I want to credit Bob Bazell of NBC, who has been doing this when he gives his reports. He's on the air. The first sentence he will say will indicate the severity of the threat. The second sentence, every time I've seen it 3 or 4 times, indicates we don't know yet the source of it, how widespread. In other words, he's getting both points of view, both options, up into the first 2 sentences, as opposed to less responsible elements in the press, which will do an entire scare story, and then in the 8th paragraph say, we don't know yet where this came from.
Well, vigilance is our best defense, I think, at this point, Eric. The president pointed that out in his news conference on Thursday night, that we need to be aware of people around us. We need to report suspicious things. You had John Walsh on the Fox network doing this America's Most Wanted special for people to keep an eye out for these folks. I think that is probably our best defense right now. Less worry about which we can do little about anthrax and some of these other biological and chemical things as individuals. We hope that the government is doing all it can on that, but more vigilance about suspicious packages, suspicious behavior.
And should we, excuse me, Kevin,
yeah, that's all right.
Briefly, Jane, to wrap it up here, should we be thinking that the media have now turned into targets?
Well, it could be. It certainly, you know, makes some sense.
Everyone who has it so far has some association with the media.
I think that's possible.
All right, we have to take another break. We'll be back with our Fox News Watch quick takes on the media.
If our real-life terror seemed like a movie script, that wasn't lost on Washington. Producers of Hollywood action films are Pentagon consultants now on what terrorists might do next.
When I start each morning. When my kids need a playmate.
Prozac Weekly is here. Ask your doctor if it's right for you. For a limited time, you can try Prozac Weekly for 1 month free. Visit freemonth.webmd.com to learn more and print out your coupon from Prozac Weekly. Talk to your doctor today to see if Prozac Weekly could be right for you. Prozac Weekly is here.
Moo.
It's a great feeling to be upgraded from a regular room to a luxury suite. Well, now you can get that same feeling when you buy a Gateway computer. Because right now, when you buy a Gateway 300S featuring the Intel Celeron processor, Gateway will give you 2 free upgrades, an extra-large monitor and a built-in CD burner. So you can get everything for just $7.99. Don't you just love upgrades?
Offer ends November 18th, so stop by or call 1-800-GATEWAY today.
Hi, I'm Rick from Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and will now pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And will now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the Northwest's #1 family restaurant and bakery, with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive deductible and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
Hi, I'm Ed Gollaby, owner of Sunglow Heating and Air Conditioning. Natural gas still costs less. Replace your old oil or electric heating system with a warm, safe, and efficient Bryant gas furnace and save on heating costs for years to come. For only $19.89, purchase this Bryant 80% efficient natural gas furnace and choose between a free gas water heater or a $100 factory rebate. Sunglow has been serving Oregonians for over 25 years with factory-trained technicians you can trust. Call Sunglow for a free prompt estimate and start saving now.
It's time now for our quick takes on the media. Headline number 1, CNN embargo ignored. Last weekend, before these attacks on Afghanistan, CNN, which has an affiliate in Afghanistan, the Al Jazeera TV network, told other American news organizations that they would not be allowed to use Al Jazeera video of the attacks. Well, ABC used it anyhow. So did CBS, NBC, MSNBC, and Fox News Channel. A day or two later, CNN said, oh, forget about the embargo. Should CNN have tried to embargo this footage initially?
Well, CNN says that they were hammering out an exclusive deal with Al Jazeera way before September 11th, that they started talking to them last spring.
Even if they were?
Yeah. Oh, I think the rest of the networks invoked fair use. They said this footage has such overwhelming news value that we have a right to use it. You know me, I'm all for sharing.
Cal, what do you think?
I agree with Jeff on this. I think it's petty to have these kinds of exclusive things in wartime, especially of important information that can come out of the Arab world. I agree with Jeff.
The reaction, Jim, that I saw of all the other networks who said they were going to use this anyhow is that at a time like this, we can't be thinking so narrowly competitive, in so narrowly competitive a manner.
Yeah, I mean, at a time like this, we want what you've got. Look, Al Jazeera is the new kid on the block. I wish I got Al Jazeera TV, even if I couldn't translate it. I would just, if I had a satellite that could get it, I would watch it because they're now central to the story.
ABC, Peter Jennings had a very interesting special on what is on Al Jazeera and how they are seen. It's been very interesting to see what they're airing.
One thing that concerns me is that Powell, our Secretary of State, went over to Qatar and apparently put pressure on Al Jazeera over their content. They're the only independent television network in the Arab world.
Quick take headline number 2, truth no longer stranger than fiction. And for that reason, screenwriters of anti-terrorist movies like Die Hard had a meeting a few days ago with representatives of the U.S. Army. The reason? To think up possible scenarios that terrorists might think up and to figure out ways that the U.S. can stop them. Does this make sense to you?
It makes complete sense. We're desperate on this situation. And I think of the movie The Terminator, where they had these robots that went into the caves and killed all the people. We may need exactly that kind of technology down the road if we're going to win this thing over the next decades.
What do you think, Jane?
I think it's a very interesting idea. I almost wish they'd, thought about that scenario before it actually happened. It would have been helpful.
It's the kind of thing, Jeff, that sounds silly at first. You chuckle, but then you say to yourself, or I said to myself, why not?
Right. Who would be more...
How can you lose?
Right. Who would have the imagination to come up with these scenarios that terrorists might come up with? One of the people in the task force is Spike Jonze, the director of Being, John Malkovich. That's a creative mind at work.
Cal, what do you think?
Well, we've had these kinds of relationships with Hollywood and the military since World War II. We had Ronald Reagan, we had Jimmy Stewart. I'd pay $8 to see Steven Seagal lead a Delta force and wipe out a bunch of terrorists and come home on a ship with flags flying and saluting the president. That'd be great. I'd stand up and cheer in the theater.
Quick take headline number 3, and a change of subject for us. Herb Bloch draws final praise. That's Herbert Bloch, the most influential editorial cartoonist of them all, and he has died. He started offering his visual opinions before the stock market crash of 1929, and he went all the way up to President George W. Bush. Herb Bloch was 91 years old. Cal?
Well, his style was certainly of another era. When you look at the way cartoons are drawn today, his was in mostly straight lines, very, very black and white, not only in terms of pen and ink, but in terms of issues. He certainly was a liberal, and he had Richard Nixon's number before an awful lot of other people did. He was the most consistent Nixon basher among many Nixon bashers.
Jim, were there ways in which Herb Bloch made the editorial cartoon something different from what it was before him?
No, it was what Cal said. But he did, interestingly enough, win a Pulitzer Prize in 1954 for running an anti-Stalin cartoon. So he was a rare thing these days, a genuinely anti-communist liberal.
He coined the term McCarthyism in 1950. He did go after Democratic presidents as well. My favorite is in 1997 about Bill Clinton. The caption is, "I had coffee with the big donors, but I didn't swallow."
Jane, was he someone that you read and as a result will miss?
Well, yes, and I think he did go after a lot of different targets. And the political cartoon, I mean, we have South Park today more than we have, you know, the cable series, a much rougher kind of apolitical humor than we have with him.
We have to take one final break. When we come back, it'll be your turn.
These little town blues are melting away. We'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If we can make it there, we'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York.
Come to Broadway and let's go on with the show.
The American flag. It symbolizes freedom and justice for all mankind. Throughout the land, millions of Americans are proudly displaying the flag. Introducing the American Freedom Collection. A set of 2 quick display flags, one Old Glory flag and the exclusive God Bless America flag. Each flag is made of weatherproof, fade-resistant material. They attach to your car window in seconds. Just slide the slot in the window. It's that easy. It looks great on mailboxes, bikes, trucks, even inside your home. The American Freedom Collection also includes 4 reusable peel-in-place flags. There's no glue. Just peel off the flag and it'll cling to any smooth surface. Call now and receive your personal American Freedom pin. You get everything. The Old Glory flag, the God Bless America flag, the peel-in-place flags, and flag pin. The entire American Freedom Collection for just $14.99. Call now.
To order your American Freedom Collection for only $14.99 plus shipping, have your credit card or checkbook ready and call 1-800-203-4949.
What is a hero? Are heroes born, or are they made? In after-school programs, your kids will uncover hidden strengths, discover they have the power to change their future, and find the hero inside themselves. Let us know you on after-school programs in your area. Call 1-800-USA-LEARN. After-school programs, helping kids find the hero within.
If you're over 50, this message is for you. Over time, if undetected, colorectal cancer becomes a killer. But screening tests can find it early when treatment is most effective. Even better, this is one cancer you can prevent. Screening finds precancerous polyps that can be removed before they turn into colorectal cancer. So stop this disease in its tracks. Medicare and many insurance plans help pay for screening. See your doctor and screen for life.
Our first email this week comes from Diane Goody of Bedford, Indiana. 4 sentences, 3 exclamation points. We are in a war. Why do you keep us so informed of the troops' every move? Let's keep the USA safe. Safeguard your journalism. Frederick Smith from Norwell, Massachusetts has a couple of questions, a couple of answers. When is it okay to reveal military intelligence in pursuit of a story? About 100 years after the event. When is it okay for American journalists to wave, wear, pledge allegiance to, and salute the flag of the United States? Always. Now, speaking of wearing flags, Heather Sanderlin from Tucson, Arizona writes, When I see a journalist with a flag or ribbon, that lets me know that they are proud to be an American citizen. Nothing more, nothing less. Trying to read a person's politics into that gesture at this time in our history is ridiculous. Get real. George Whites from Roswell, New Mexico. I am curious, when did you journalists become such gods that you can't display the American flag? The flag you are ashamed to display represents we the people of the United States, not just the current administration. If you are ashamed of us, go report the news for Saddam. You are very wrong, Mr. Whites. Journalists who do not wear the flag are not ashamed of it. They just don't think it's appropriate. Some viewers disagree with the decision of many TV news organizations not to show footage of people jumping out of the World Trade Center on the day of the attack. Sharon Johnson, Huntley, Illinois, writes this. I was shocked to hear that some don't want the American people to see the actual results of the attack on September 11th. If these were pictures of people in Afghanistan jumping out of windows because of our military action, the media would not hesitate to show them as often as possible with comments about, this is what Americans are doing to helpless people. Finally, from Chris Spence of Dallas, Texas. Sometimes the media just make matters worse. Let us take the continuing threat of biological or chemical attacks, for example, and the overwhelming need for the media to report on it every hour. Not only are you fanning the fears of the American public, but you've reported in such detail about all the different possible ways to attack America that I could write a book. Write a letter instead, or an email, and send it to us. We are at Fox News Watch. Our address is 1211 Avenue of the Americas, New York, New York. The zip code 10036. Or if you would like to email us, that address, newswatch@foxnews.com. Either way, please tell us your name and let us know where it is you live. That's all the time we have for this week. Thanks go, as they always do, to Jeff Cohen, to Jane Hall, Jim Pinkerton, and they go all the way out to Sacramento, to Cal Thomas. Most of all, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week when Fox News Watch returns.
President Bush says he's got Osama bin Laden on the run as America goes on high alert for potential attacks. We'll give you all the latest.
And after Afghanistan, then what? We'll tell you if there are other targets in the war on terror.
And is the U.S. cozying up too much with Arab nations and getting too little? Israel thinks so. We'll tell you how it's impacted U.S.-Israeli relations.
That's all coming up on the Beltway Boys. But first, the latest headlines.
Chetri with the latest developments now as America strikes back. It's morning in Afghanistan, and another day of strikes started about an hour ago over the capital city of Kabul. Witnesses reported seeing several warplanes in the sky and also hearing explosions. The military attacks have now moved into their second week as U.S.-led forces try to get at Osama bin Laden and his terrorist network. President Bush is rejecting a Taliban proposal to hand over Osama bin Laden to a third country. The ruling Afghan government says it would hand over bin Laden if Allied forces stop bombing the country and also if bin Laden's guilt can be proven. President Bush responding that the U.S. knows bin Laden is guilty. Meantime, the Centers for Disease Control officials in Florida are now saying that the additional test cases that showed positive exposure to anthrax may have been misinterpreted. Fox News has learned the test is normally used on people vaccinated against anthrax to make sure the vaccine worked, not necessarily meant to test for exposure to anthrax. Also, law enforcement sources are trying to track down 25 to 30 Arab men who paid cash to take a truck driving course at a school outside of Denver, Colorado. Men reportedly finished without requesting any advice on career placement, which officials there say is not typical. Also, Secretary of State Colin Powell heads to Asia on a diplomatic mission to shore up support for the anti-terror coalition. Powell will visit Pakistan and India to thank those countries' leaders for supporting the war on terror, but also to keep tensions between the two countries from complicating those efforts. And that is our update for now. We'll see you back here again at the top of the hour. I'm Kiran Chetri. Beltway Boys is next here on Fox.
Fred Barnes. And I'm Mort Kondracki, and we're the Beltway Boys. Fred, the domestic war on terrorist threat has escalated. You had on Saturday Osama bin Laden's spokesman threatening President Bush and airliners and tall buildings and stuff like that. You've got an outbreak of anthrax in 3 different places with 8 people affected in Florida and others in New York and Nevada now. You've got a generalized FBI warning of something imminent about to happen. Yeah. You put all this together. President Bush was asked about whether, you know, the government was scaring Americans. He responded exactly right in comparing Osama bin Laden to Satan. I mean, using the biblical reference to Satan. Watch this.
The American people shouldn't be surprised that we're issuing alerts. After all, on our TV screens the other day, we saw the evil one threatening, calling for more destruction and death in America. And so we should take these threats seriously.
The evil one. I mean, that's dead right.
I get it, yeah.
No, look, but I think that this anthrax business is a diversion, and I take the airplane warning seriously. On October 10th, bin Laden's spokesman said that the storm of airplanes was going to continue. And the fact of the matter is that both the Inspector General of the FAA and the head of the Airline Flight Attendants Association said that the precautions being taken at airports right now are strictly cosmetic. That baggage that goes into the hold of the plane is not checked the way carry-on baggage is. I mean, you could have 10 planes blowing up in the sky, and if that happened after Bush's assurances, it would make him and the Congress look feckless.
I understand that, but look, the guy from the Federal Aviation Administration, he's responsible. He's warning about this. They're the ones who are overseeing the whole thing. He should have done something about it. And secondly, anthrax. I don't think this is a diversion. I suspect that the terrorists are involved, and they want to kill as many Americans as possible and scare everybody else. Now, that's the domestic front. On the other front, in Afghanistan, the war front, Bush is turning up the heat. First, listen to him at the Pentagon when he talked about this and the choice that the Taliban made. Listen to him.
This week, I have called the armed forces into action. One by one, we are eliminating power centers of a regime that harbors al-Qaeda terrorists. We gave that regime a choice: turn over the terrorists or face your ruin. They chose unwisely.
Indeed, they did choose unwisely, and the air war has gone very well, removing anti-aircraft sites and so on. There will be a ground war. Mort, I think this is going to be like Vietnam, with a difference. We'll win this time, and quickly. Troops will go on the ground, American troops where they're safe to come and go, and then go out and search and destroy missions against the Taliban. They'll find Osama bin Laden. I don't know when. But the Taliban doesn't have a friend like the Soviet Union or a country sending troops like North Vietnam, so it's different this time. Well, now, the president said one other thing that was important, and that was at his press conference this week when he laid down an interesting line on Iraq that Saddam Hussein better take seriously. Listen to this from the press conference on Thursday.
There's no question that the leader of Iraq is an evil man. After all, he gassed his own people. We know he's been developing weapons of mass destruction. And I think it's in his advantage to allow inspectors back in his country to make sure that he's conforming to the agreement he made after he was soundly trounced in the Gulf War. And so we're watching him very carefully.
You think Saddam understood that more? You accept inspectors or else.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the predicate for an attack and for rebuilding a coalition against Iraq.
All right. Let's go to the up and down. Down, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Abdullah. Unlike Pakistani President Musharraf, Prince Abdullah folds under domestic pressure and forbids the U.S. from using Saudi air bases in America's war on terror. Remember how good the Saudis were 10 years ago in the Gulf War? Well, Saudi Arabia has changed. Abdullah's different from King Fahd. And they feel pretty secure. They're getting along passably with Iraq, so they feel secure. And they do have this fundamentalist unrest inside their country that they're pandering to. So
you know, they are an ally in name only.
They are not under immediate threat. We saved their kingdom.
No kidding.
You know, in 1991, and now they're not acting like friends right now. I mean, it was only on Saturday that they and the other Gulf states finally agreed to freeze Osama bin Laden's assets.
Yeah.
They still don't give us adequate intelligence. When in previous terrorist incidents, they whacked the heads off of the perpetrators without letting the FBI question them. I question whether they really are allies of ours.
That's why I say allies in name only.
Exactly. Down. Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. President Bush confirms reports that the U.S. favors creation of a Palestinian state as part of a Mideast peace plan. Here he is.
There ought to be a Palestinian state, the boundaries of which will be negotiated by the parties, so long as the Palestinian state recognizes the right of Israel to exist and will treat Israel with respect and will be peaceful on our borders. I hope progress is being made. I was pleased to see that Mr. Arafat is trying to control the radical elements within the Palestinian Authority. And I think the world ought to applaud him for that.
Well, Bush is...
Are you applauding?
Yeah, Bush is trying to be as nice to Arafat as possible, but I think that they're beginning to go too far. The State Department is talking about a plan whereby the United States would insist that Israel go back to the offer that Ehud Barak made to Arafat to share Jerusalem, give 95% of the West Bank back as the beginning point for future negotiations. Ariel Sharon will reject that. That will be used as further evidence that Israel is recalcitrant and could create a split between the United States and Israel. Bush should not adopt that.
No, I agree. He shouldn't. Now, you know, Arafat has locked up terrorists before. He locked up 100 this past week. But what's happened in the past, he's let them out after a few weeks, and the terrorism continues. I think here's what Israel needs to be guaranteed, not only that its survival and its right to exist, it needs to be assured that there will not be a terrorist state next door, and there's nothing to assure that now, if there's a Palestinian state. Okay, up. National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice. Rice single-handedly keeps the news media in check on publishing and airing national security details that could be detrimental to America's war efforts. Morton, you've been a fan of Condi Rice for years.
I have.
And justifiably so.
Look, what she's trying to do is to limit the evil one's ability to communicate through American channels. That's why, and most of the networks, to their credit, are not carrying the propaganda stuff straight, lest there be some messages hidden to the sleeper agents in the country, and forcing him to maybe use telephones and stuff like that where they can get picked up.
She also got the Washington Post not to run some things about, I think, troop movements and so on. She talking to them, and more, she's emerged as an extraordinary big-time player here, every bit as big as Rumsfeld and Powell.
Up. Author V.S. Naipaul, the British novelist, won the Nobel Prize for Literature this week. Among the works cited by the prize committee is the 1981 book Among the Believers, An Islamic Journey, which examines the roots and consequences of Islamic fundamentalism.
Well, you know, I've been a fan of Naipaul for a long time. I think he's the greatest writer in the English language right now. He's an immigrant from Trinidad, an Indian who grew up in Trinidad. And it's amazing that he got this Nobel Prize because it's kind of a liberal committee. And here he is. It's politically incorrect to give it to a guy who's criticized Islamic fundamentalism as often as V.S. Naipaul has, and he's done it very, very bravely. And what his critique is that in countries that are not Arab, where Islamic fundamentalism comes in, it destroys their past, it upsets those countries. It has not been a force for good. In fact, he said it's been calamitous. And he also says that one of the reasons why these Islamic radicals don't like the West in the United States is because they can't cope with the freedom and the individualism and the pluralism and all that stuff. What he says they suffer from is philosophical hysteria. This is a brilliant man.
Well, the fact is that there are no Islamic democracies.
Right.
And that's a fact that's got to be faced.
Indeed. All right. Coming up, war makes for some strange bedfellows. Stay tuned to see who President Bush will be butting up to next week. Stay with us for our tip sheet.
Set goals, follow through with a plan. It's how you win football games. It's how I've survived heart disease. Over 500,000 Americans die each year of heart disease. Enough people to fill this stadium 7 times. I'm alive today because I follow a game plan which includes a simple cholesterol test. Team up with your doctor to develop a plan that can control your cholesterol and keep you in the game. Call now for a free playbook on cholesterol and surviving heart disease and learn about the Mended Hearts, offering support to heart disease patients.
On September 11th, America faced terrorist attacks of the worst kind. Innocent lives were lost, and a sad cloud was cast over this great nation. These acts were intended to cause fear among all Americans, including our children. But we cannot let that happen. There are things we can do to help our kids. Talk with them, listen to them, tell them they're safe and that they're loved. God bless you, and God bless America.
11 seconds into my first collegiate game, I hit the boards and ended up here. Scientists helped a paralyzed rat regain movement in its hind legs. They proved spinal cord nerves can regenerate. That stuff, I keep it because I'll use it again. No doubt about it.
We're all different, yet all the same. If you're a man over 50, you're at greater risk for prostate problems. The good news, today there are effective treatments for enlarged prostate, prostatitis, and even cancer if caught early. In addition, there are many ways to maintain prostate health, including dietary supplements. Want to learn more? Call this number or see your doctor, because all men are created equal.
Welcome back to the Beltway Boys. Here's the tip sheet for next week's action. Item number 1, President Bush travels to Shanghai for the economic conference, the APEC conference. High on the agenda, a meeting with Chinese Prime Minister Jiang Zemin.
Well, you know, he cut out the part of his trip when he was going to go to Beijing and have a summit with the Chinese. And here's why the meeting when he chats with Jiang Zemin is different. Jiang Zemin and the Chinese, they are odd man out in the world shift, in the balance of power in the world. September 11th led the Russians to throw in with the West completely and with the U.S. India, a perennial foe of China, has joined us too. And so rather than have an alliance against the hegemon, you know, that's your favorite word, the superpower that China would be a part of with the Russians and so on, everybody but China has jumped on our side against this radical Islam. An important thing in Jiang Zemin, he's just not as important as he was.
Well, in Pakistan, too, which was an ally of China's. Okay, item number 2, Secretary of State Colin Powell will travel to Pakistan and India next week.
Well, you know, Musharraf, the military man who's ahead in Pakistan, deserves a pat on the back. He's quelled the domestic protests. He's helped the U.S. in a tough situation, and I think he'll get a little support from Powell, a little encouragement, and he deserves it. And India, of course, has been great. I mean, India, one of the great things that's happened in the Bush administration is détente between the U.S. and India, more than détente.
You want to know something? What's on the agenda down the line? Yeah. Peace between Pakistan and India. There's a Nobel Peace Prize to be won there. Item 3, Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi, your hero, will be in Washington Monday for a meeting with President Bush.
Are you referring to the Ronald Reagan of Italy? Silvio Berlusconi, great man, says, you know what he says that I love? He says, whichever side America's on, that's the side Italy's going to be on as long as I'm Prime Minister. What more can you say? Great man.
Item 4, Vice President Dick Cheney will come out of hiding next week. He'll be attending the annual Alfred E. Smith Foundation dinner in New York City.
You know what, I assume when Cheney's there, and it's a very political dinner, but it's a bipartisan dinner, the Republicans and Democrats, he will be talking up this bipartisan support for the war, which has been very good. I look forward to hearing him.
I agree, and he hasn't been in hiding. He's just been in a secure location. And number 5, look for a flurry of corporate earnings reports next week, and investors are bracing for the worst.
Well, I'm an investor. You're an investor. We're both bracing. The problem is the economy's bad. It's hard to think that all of a sudden earnings are going to be great with this down economy. No doubt we're in a recession. So I'm going to maybe I won't be watching the tape much next week. It'll be too discouraging.
Exactly.
All right. Coming up, we'll talk to a leading senator on the war against bioterrorism, Senator Bill Frist, a rising star in the Republican Party. Stay with us.
looking to buy or sell a home, it's important to keep in touch with the local market. That's why you should tune in to the Coldwell Banker Barbara Seal Properties Tour of Homes show. You'll find local listings in a variety of shapes, sizes, and price ranges. And at Coldwell Banker, you'll find real estate professionals who work to achieve the perfect balance of needs for their clients. Look to the Coldwell Banker Tour of Homes show 7 days a week only on TV Mart, AT&T Cable Channel 15. Let us help you find your dream home.
Hi, I'm Rick from Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and will now pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And will now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the Northwest's #1 family restaurant and bakery, with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive deductible and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
If you wake up sore, stiff, with back, neck, or shoulder pain, wishing for a great night's sleep, call for this free Better Sleep and Gift Catalog featuring 3 free fabulous gifts. Choose a free camcorder, free digital camera, or free DVD player. Free with purchase of any select model Craftmatic 2 adjustable bed. To receive your free Better Sleep and Gift Catalog with free information on the adjustable bed that costs 50% less than many quality flatbeds, call now.
Call toll-free 1-800-577-3737. That's 1-800-577-3737. Call now.
When you turn your TV on, does it turn you on? What if you could set your favorite channels with an interactive programming guide, or instantly order pay-per-view movies every half hour? Would that turn you on? Now imagine watching one show while you're searching for another, or even getting the package of channels you want at the price you want. Call now to get AT&T digital cable and let your TV turn you on.
Upgrade to digital cable. Call AT&T Broadband today.
Joining us to talk about the latest developments in the war on terror is Republican Senator Bill Frist of Tennessee, a medical doctor. Senator Frist has been on the front lines of plans to combat biological and chemical attacks here at home. Welcome, Senator. We're delighted you're here.
Good to be with you.
Now, there are more cases popping up of anthrax, or at least exposure to anthrax, and there's no evidence that this is connected to the Islamic terrorists and the suicide folks and so on. I can't imagine, could it have come all of a sudden from anywhere but these terrorists?
Well, it certainly could. Anthrax is naturally occurring. We know that 20, 30, or 40 of our academic medical institutions have research activities ongoing, so it's not impossible to get. What we've seen thus far is very crude weaponization of the anthrax cases that have indeed been reported. The terrorists, I guess from my standpoint, I want our government, the CIA and the FBI, to be assuming it's all linked. Just because we want those investigations to be as aggressive as possible. On the other hand, I think that's what Vice President Cheney was saying last night. On the other hand, my gut feeling is that they're not related, that individuals, after seeing all the publicity of September the 11th, are reaching out and engaging in activity which is clearly criminal, but is unrelated to the terrorists themselves. I don't have any evidence of that, but that's my gut feeling.
Well, so this is American cranks are sending letters in the mail to Tom Brokaw and other people at these tabloids?
This is criminal activity,
Yeah.
and anthrax kills. There is intent, and that's
They've
why
already killed somebody.
It has killed somebody. We know the history of anthrax is that it kills. Pulmonary anthrax kills 80 to 90% of people if not treated. This skin or cutaneous anthrax is very treatable, even after the symptoms occur. And I think that's important to say because we've seen the cutaneous anthrax or this skin anthrax. And people are getting very prepared. Physicians all over the country are going back to their textbooks and looking so they can recognize what these lesions are like. And they are very, 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 very rarely fatal if treated, if recognized and treated.
Well, now, reflecting on what you know about the capacity of the Al-Qaeda network, are they capable of some sort of biochemical attack on the United States?
There's no question, and it is important that Americans know that, given the nature of the threat. Osama bin Laden said it is his religious duty to acquire weapons of mass destruction, including biological weapons. There's been a long history of weaponization of germs and of bacteria across the world. Osama bin Laden has a lot of money, and he can go out and buy the expertise. What we're seeing with anthrax right now, which may be related, I don't think so, may be, If cranks can get their hands on it so easily, clearly Osama bin Laden. And I should also say that there's other bioweapons. There's smallpox, there's tularemia, there are other nerve-type agents which fall more into the chemical category. So there are a lot of different agents that could be used, and Osama bin Laden, with the money, has said that it is his religious duty. So clearly they could be doing that.
Yes, Senator, speaking of Osama bin Laden, he issued a new threat on Saturday, saying they would punish President Bush and others, Tony Blair, the British Prime Minister, and threatened about blowing up planes and flying into tall buildings and so on. What did you make of this threat?
Well, you know, the biggest difference between a crime committed and terrorism as we know it today, as defined by September the 11th, is just that, to terrify every single American, to change their life, to strip the heart out of our infrastructure today. And so when they mention airplanes and buildings, clearly that is the purpose. They want to achieve their goal. It's not necessarily just killing thousands of people, which is a tragedy. It is terrorizing 300 million people. So I interpret that as part of that overall effort. Clearly, we need to be vigilant, and we should be, and our government is. I can tell you as a United States Senator, across the board, we're vigilant as can be, but we can't go so far, as the President has said, to disrupt our lifestyle, and you can achieve that balance.
Well, what about security at airports and security on planes? Mort, a few minutes ago, was talking about the warnings that we've gotten from the stewardesses and from the FAA that the changes so far since September 11th in security at airports is merely cosmetic.
Well, I think that never, ever are we going to be able to rely on the person who you look in the eye as you go by with your baggage or with your purse or pocketbook or briefcase and say that's going to be the answer. It's going to take increased vigilance by everybody throughout. In government, we can do all we can. As you know, our bill from last week addresses this issue of airport security. But still, it's going to take Americans responding in an appropriate way, I think, to increase their vigilance, not just going through the baggage handling and the packing and answering the questions, but throughout that entire flight. And that's what I think can be accomplished and will be accomplished by the American people.
Well, does the bill that the Senate passed last week on airline security require that checked baggage be put through the kind of scrutiny that carry-on baggage does? I mean, in Israel, every piece of checked baggage goes through a pressure device so that if there's a bomb in it, it blows up there.
You know, the technology itself is fascinating, and as both of you know, there have been tremendous advances that have been made in the last 5 years, the last 10 years.
Do we have it?
The technology is getting there. A lot of the technology is there, but we haven't put the money in and the resources there in order to actually implement it across the board. And yes, the government is absolutely committed in working in that direction. We don't know what the final bill will be because the Senate has passed its bill, and we have to now marry that with what comes out of the House, and then we'll see what the final bill is. I am confident, though, that we're moving in a direction where the security will be heightened such that we're not going to have a great fear when we get on flights every day. But it's not just going to be in the people checking the bags.
So if you had a plane to catch tomorrow, you'd take it?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question. But I'll tell you, just like with anthrax, when I open my mail tomorrow and you open your mail across the world, all of us have to be more vigilant. It's causing us to think, are we going to have to handle our mail a little bit differently? And yes, we're going to have to look at it and see if the return addresses. When we get on airlines, yes, we're going to think, and we're going to think about what we've packed, what other people's have packed. When we're sitting there, we're going to be looking around thinking. We're going to all be more vigilant.
Senator, what is your informed guess about how long it will take in Afghanistan to defeat the Taliban and nail Osama bin Laden?
You know, first of all, it'd be almost irresponsible to say it's going to be a week, a month, a year. And in truth, nobody knows. And we can project it. The president has made it very, very clear that this is going to be a battle that's going to be fought on multiple fronts. It's going to take not days, not weeks, not months, but likely into this time span of year or years as we go forward. The coalition building has achieved a tremendous amount. We feel it. We see our allies now coming forward, allies we didn't have in the past, places like Sudan, who are working together to root out terrorism. It's not going to be days and weeks or even months. I think it's going to be years.
Senator, what do you think about suggestions from Sue Bailey, the former Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health, and Dianne Feinstein, your colleague, who say that the military should basically be the lead agency handling domestic security?
Well, I'm going to be slow to come out and say who we should put until we hear from Tom Ridge, who is right now the point person pulling everybody together, from whether it's bioweapons or looking at the military defense. We just passed this terrorism bill the other day in the United States Senate. Now, people are asking me, is that the whole picture? No, that's one picture. Until we put all those pictures together, we're not going to know who the lead agency should be.
Okay, thanks, Senator.
Good to be with you.
Okay, when we come back, Fred and I will have all the latest buzz.
Introducing new Kellogg's Special K Red Berry cereal. Crunchy sweet flakes, now with slices of real strawberries, right in the box. Looking good, never tasted so great. Kellogg's Special K Red Berries. It's new.
People ask my twin brother Jason and me what the whole tobacco issue means to us personally. So we tell them, it's just killing our family. And I don't mean that they're all dying. It's just that the ones that have really meant everything to my family and me. It's the pain they leave behind. When you die from tobacco, you're not the only one that suffers.
The internet is an amazing and wondrous place. But there are also dangers lurking online. Report suspicious behavior on the internet aimed at you or other kids by going to www.missingkids.com.
Handgun sales up 500%. Airports locked down. Immigration stopped. America wants action against terrorism. What will it take for us to feel safe again? And will we pay the price? Plus, racial profiling, military security. Will the government's plans go too far or not far enough? Watch Homeland, Defending Americans, a Fox News Channel special. Violence erupts in the Middle East as America begins its mission to wipe out terrorism. Team Washington brings you the information as events unfold. The network you can trust. Fox News Channel.
Welcome back to the Beltway Boys. Here's the buzz, Mort. You know, the Hollywood loved Bill Clinton. Well, now they're getting along better with Bush since September 11th. In fact, they are getting along so well, Hollywood has agreed to work with the White House to support the war. The Hollywood guy who's helping here, Lionel Chetwin, the screenwriter-director.
Next thing you know, a conservative on West Wing, right?
Yeah.
The buzz is that John Breaux may run for governor of Louisiana in 2003.
All right, that's all for the Beltway Boys this week. Watch us on Special Report with Britt Hume, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
And join us next week when the boys will be back in town.
Good evening, I'm Judith Regan, and tonight the FBI has issued a warning that further terrorist attacks are likely. How can we protect ourselves? We'll get the answers from a former Green Beret. Then a commercial airlines pilot fights for the right to bear arms on board. And we'll get inside the mind of Osama bin Laden with a terrorism expert who studied him for over 20 years. Also, he took on the hijackers aboard Flight 93 on September 11th. Tonight, this hero's mother shares their final conversation. We'll have all that and more, but first, a news break.
With the latest developments as America strikes back. A second week of U.S.-led attacks begin in Afghanistan again as Monday morning bombing resumes over Kabul, and news just in now that warplanes were heard over Jalalabad. That was followed by heavy explosions. All of this as President Bush rejects the latest offer from the Taliban. The Afghan government saying Sunday it would hand over Osama bin Laden to a third country if the U.S. stops the bombing and if the U.S. can prove bin Laden's guilt. Aides to the president called the proposal more rhetoric intended to make the Taliban appear reasonable to its supporters.
No need to discuss innocence or guilt. We know he's guilty. Turn him over. If they want us to stop our military operations, they just got to meet my conditions. And when I said no negotiation, I meant no negotiation.
In New York, Mayor Rudy Giuliani says a police officer and two more lab technicians who handled an anthrax-infected letter tested positive for anthrax in the nose. One technician did. They're both receiving treatment, and they're expected to be fine. That brings a number of people exposed to anthrax now to 12. Administration officials call the recent anthrax occurrences terrorism.
Is it Al-Qaeda? We don't know. But it certainly is an act of terrorism to send anthrax through the mail. I mean, that's what.
So it could possibly be a domestic source as well?
It could be a domestic source. It could be somebody holding a grudge. It could be somebody saying, you know, I waited all this time, now I'm going to be able to do something, you know, really radical and be a copycat kind of a situation. We don't know.
Secretary of State Colin Powell also left for Asia Sunday on a diplomatic mission. That is our update. We'll be back again at the bottom of the hour.
wave of terrorist attacks against the United States imminent? If so, what's the best way to protect ourselves? Would such attacks be likely to involve chemical and biological warfare? In the week in which we initiated military action in the war against terror, we're also asking, did Osama bin Laden send secret messages to terrorist cells in the United States through his videotaped statements? And do bombing raids offer the best method for reaching our goals? Joining us from Washington is a man who can answer all these questions. His name is Bob Bevilacqua, and he's a former Green Beret who currently serves as a senior security analyst for Colsa Corporation. Bob, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, we'll start with the videotaped statements of Osama bin Laden. Could there be coded messages? Do you believe that there might be? And should the networks limit playing them?
Yes, there could be coded messages, and yes, they should not have been played. If you look at World War II France, when it was occupied, they used their radios to get messages out to their underground, much in the same fashion that Osama bin Laden could have used this pre-tape message to do the same thing. Terrorists live for the news and for the media. If you don't get media coverage after your terrorist act, you're a failure. So on the one hand, we have to provide information to the American public, and on the other hand, we're providing an incredible medium for these people to advertise what they've done, the level of success, and in the example of the bin Laden tape, to possibly send out further messages to his network.
Now, do you think that the terrorists are responsible for the anthrax cases in Florida?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen enough information. I'm not privy to the information to do some type of analysis. However, I think it's highly unusual. I believe this is the first case of pulmonary anthrax in the United States in quite some time. The fact that it's concentrated to one general area, and there's a possible MO with them having made statements about Osama bin Laden, so it does look very suspicious.
If we start to see those kinds of cases showing up all over the country, would you then revise your point of view?
Oh, absolutely. Right now, this is fairly remote. It's in one location. It has affected a few people. If this happens in other locations, it should definitely raise our awareness to a possible threat.
Do you think that there is a threat of some future biological or chemical warfare against us?
I do, but I think we have to recognize that their ability to deliver this in bulk, mass quantities, infect a large population is going to be very limited. It is a high-risk delivery platform for them. And when I say that, what I mean is there is a lot of situational awareness problems that they might encounter trying to deliver this. So it's high risk for them. There's a good chance of compromise. I think there are much easier ways to carry out terrorist activities inside the United States and keep a much safer approach for them, much more covert and clandestine.
If this situation that happened in Florida were extended across the country, a case here, a case there, a case everywhere, but small, wouldn't that be sort of the ultimate psychological warfare?
Absolutely, yes it would, especially if it's going to be delivered through the mail. Combating that would be very difficult. Once you get into people's psyche, once you get them uncomfortable mentally, you do have a victory.
Now, there are other threats against more problems with the commercial airlines. Is that another form of psychological warfare?
Yes, it can be. I think the President is right. Get back on the airlines, go about your day-to-day business. However, I would submit don't conduct it business as usual. The American public does seem to be becoming very aware of their surroundings, which we refer to as situational awareness. And that is really the key to success here within the whole country. We can all take part in it. We can all help combat terrorism.
Now, the FBI has warned that in the next few days there may be more terrorist attacks. How do you feel about that?
Well, once again, I haven't been privy to the information that they've done the analysis. However, I would say based upon what we're currently doing overseas, the fact that they were able to pull off that well-coordinated attack on 9/11 leads me to believe that they have an organization within the United States that is quite capable of going to ground for some time and then committing another act. One of the things we have to recognize about this organization is it's not going to be highly responsive in that if we jab them in the eye today, they're going to poke us back tomorrow. They don't have the ability to do that. It takes them a good amount of time to coordinate their next attack. They are very patient people. If it takes 3 to 6 months, so be it. On the other hand, we're not a very patient nation. We are requiring instant justification in bringing these people to justice. And when you deal with terrorist cells that have an underground and auxiliary, that might not be the case. It takes quite some time to root them out, if you will.
And do you think that the bombing raids are the best way to deal with this right now?
Initially, yes. What we're seeing is the first phase in a multi-phased operation, which will, I believe, after the President's comments last night, not just be limited to Afghanistan. However, I would tell you, you have got to put boots on the ground.
Expand on that.
Well, we have to get ground forces in Afghanistan to find these terrorist organizations and basically kill them close quarters combat. You can't do it from 30,000 feet. Overhead satellite imagery, contrary to what I heard on the news earlier, in my opinion, does not show you people defecting.
All right. Isn't it likely, though, that we will or are doing that?
I believe we are in the process of doing that. To the extent I am not sure. We say if bombing is the first phase, I would submit to you that is the first overt and open phase. There could be other activities that happened prior to the bombing. Obviously, we found some very good targets, which we could have done using special operations in a special reconnaissance type mission.
All right. You say we all need to be more prepared. In what way can we be more prepared? And what's your view of the Homeland Security?
I think our Homeland Security is very porous. In some areas, it is almost non-existent. For each individual person to protect himself, he would need, first of all, to recognize there are 3 levels of situational awareness. There's level white, yellow, and red. White is basically when you're on the beach with suntan oil reading the newspaper. You're not aware of your surroundings. You're very comfortable, very relaxed.
You have 5 seconds.
Yellow, you're driving down the highway, bad traffic, you're paying attention to what's going on around you. In red, you're very, very concerned about what's going on. You're looking for different things, packages, and indicators of an event.
All right. Bob Bevilacqua, thank you so much for being here. We're out of time. Thank you. He's the man our government turns to try to understand who Osama bin Laden is and where his al-Qaeda network might strike next. Joseph Bodansky joins us. And later, we'll pay tribute to some who lost their lives in the name of freedom and democracy on September 11th. You won't want to miss this.
Seat 9A, window.
How are you?
Morning flight. Full-size car. Hotel? Not this trip. On Travelocity, we'll show you a calendar of choices for the price you want. Because a great fare isn't great if it's not available when you are. Travelocity. Go virtually anywhere.
Buying a carpet deep cleaner can be confusing. You may think they have steam or heat the water, but in fact, they don't. Presenting the Bissell Pro Heat, the only upright deep cleaner with a built-in heater, which makes the hot tap water up to 25 degrees hotter, so it cleans better than all its competitors. Bissell, we mean clean. Get the improved cleaning power of real heat in a handy portable. The Bissell Little Green Pro Heat.
This weekend, the threat of retaliation, the safety of our country. Coverage continues with live reports, confrontation, commentary, and heated debate. Stay with the Fox News Channel. Rooting out terror on a special live edition of Hannity Colmes. Bioterrorism security. What will it take to keep America safe? Homeland Defending Americans, a Fox News Channel special.
Hi there, I'm Edie Donahue. Next week on Fox and Friends, what decisive factors will be used to help our military win the war? Colonel David Hackworth joins us 6 a.m.
My next guest has been studying Osama bin Laden for nearly 20 years. He is the director of the Congressional Task Force on Terrorism and Unconventional Warfare, and his reports have been prescient in anticipating terrorist activities and threats against America and its allies. He's the author of the book, Bin Laden, the Man Who Declared War on America, and his name is Joseph Bodansky. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Welcome, Mr. Bodansky.
Pleasure.
Give us an overview of bin Laden's youth and what he was like growing up.
Very affluent youth, very westernized youth, to a family well connected with the royal family that no new shortages, was exposed to the best the West had to offer until he went to Afghanistan.
And what happened in Afghanistan?
He came under the influence of Abdullah Azzam, the Palestinian radical, that at the time the luminary of the non-Afghan Mujahideen flocking into the country, and there was a lot of reawakening of Islam in bin Laden since the 1970s, but it was the experience in Afghanistan that pushed him over the edge.
What has influenced him most in terms of the development of his hatred?
The Gulf War. It was an inner Muslim crisis into which we kind of walked our way, showing no sensitivity to the Muslim proclivities in this crisis. He offered to the royal family a Muslim solution that, now in retrospect, would have worked. He was rejected, as were many of the ulama, the leading Islamic leaders of Saudi Arabia at the time, in favor of the U.S. offered solution. And he started the royal family elected to defile the Holy Land of Islam by allowing American troops in, turned against them, and there was no way back.
Now, how did bin Laden build his network? How did that happen?
Well, he didn't. The network was there for him to take. The individual on the Sunni side of Islam that we need to focus on in that respect is Hassan al-Turabi, the spiritual leader of Sudan, who adopted a lot of the Iranian teaching of perpetual terrorism to Sunni Islam, started building the networks. Bin Laden was his protege when he was in Sudan between 91 and 96. Ayman al-Zawahiri was Turabi's key military guy, now is Bin Laden's key military guy. They learned to work together, and essentially that Al-Qaeda is an evolution of the armed Islamic movement that Turabi established.
Now, what about building a political network, though, that involves many heads of state?
It's all the same. The Muslim world has a lot of problems with the West, with the growing influence of the West, globalization, the spread of our technology and the spread of our values and our way of life. And a lot of leaders throughout the Muslim world are sponsoring states that are crucial in making terrorism happen, as opposed to inspiring it religiously, who also have taken on the West because they cannot coexist with the modern world as we shape it, and they take revenge against it.
However, you know, they have an issue with our technology and our materialism and so on, but they're more than happy to use that technology in the form of satellites and cell phones and Timex watches. Isn't this...
Well, look, bin Laden himself, in his most recent pronunciation, if you go back and you read the whole text, not just the segments shown on television here, he talks explicitly that in order to prevail, the Muslim world must continue and absorb Western technology, high-tech and advancement and development, but should draw the line between technology and value system.
Okay, what about the relationship between Saddam Hussein and bin Laden?
There is a growing cooperation between, essentially we can talk about 5 states that have close relationship with bin Laden that complement each other, and these are Syria, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, and Sudan. With Iraq, the relationship started rather rocky because bin Laden opposed the Iraqi onslaught on Kuwait, and bin Laden opposes Saddam Hussein's Arabism as being a secularized radical theology. But on the other hand, Saddam offered him access to things that nobody else did, like weaponization of weapons of mass destruction, access to bases close to the Saudi border. Ayman al-Zawahiri, bin Laden's key military man, was instrumental in forging the relationship that are very close today.
And what about your view of bin Laden's chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear capabilities?
He has them all, definitely in, let's start with, he has them all. In Afghanistan, he has storage that includes chemical, biological, including nuclear weapons in all likelihood, the stolen, the missing Russian suitcase bombs, a few of them. He had bases in the West, we know for sure in the Balkans, in Bosnia, for example, where he had chemical and biological weapons. One should assume, given the level of preparation, level of action, that he has them stored in the United States as well.
And how threatening should that be to us?
We don't know the answer, because spectacular terrorist strikes, including those of September 11, are actually acts of theater. A very gruesome theater, but theater nonetheless. The primary audience is the discourse between bin Laden and the Muslim street and the Muslim ruling elite. The acts of terrorism have to influence them, drive a point in the ongoing political discourse between the Islamists and these segments of Muslim society. When he needs to deliver a strong point that can best be served by an attack with the use of weapons of mass destruction, he'll do so. But it will be contingent not so much on our vulnerabilities as much as on the need to deliver a message to the prime audience.
And what is his end game? What does he hope to ultimately accomplish? To destroy us? To change us?
To change us, but look, at the end, his primary audience is the Muslim world. Muslim world today is about a quarter of humanity. Vast majority of them want to coexist in peace with the West. There are a tremendous amount of grievances, friction, etc., but nothing justifying the kind of hostility that exists today. Bin Laden's own networks are about 250,000 hardcore and about 10 times as many active supporters. He wants to instigate, and he's been writing about it, a cataclysmic world war between Islam and the West that, through the use of spectacular terrorism, that building Western hostility will rally the rest of the Muslim world, quarter of humanity, behind his banner and establish a Muslim state.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. Yosef Bodansky, the book is called Bin Laden, the Man Who Declared War on America. Is airport security alone the answer to keeping our skies safe? Up next, a commercial airline pilot makes his case for guns in the cockpit. Don't go away.
America must win the war against those terrorists.
These little town blues are melting away. We'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If we can make it there, we'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York.
Come to Broadway and let's go on with the show.
11 seconds into my first collegiate game, I hit the boards and ended up here. Scientists helped a paralyzed rat regain movement in its hind legs. They proved spinal cord nerves could regenerate. That stuff, I keep it because I'll use it again. No doubt about it.
What's the most expensive part of a car? The engine? The transmission? Well, for most of us, it's the financing. And that's important to know because right now, Landmark Ford is offering rates as low as 0% on all new cars and trucks. Finance this Mustang for 60 months and you'll save more than $8,000 in interest alone. More than $8,000. But the program ends soon, so see us now at Landmark Ford in Tiger, just off 55 at the Haines Street exit.
Pack your TVs with the AT&T Broadband Everything Sale. Get every channel we offer with our Digital Platinum package on 2 TVs for the special monthly rate of just $59.99, guaranteed for 6 months. Get up to 244 channels, over $135 in savings, free upgrade installation on 2 outlets, 2 digital receivers and remotes, and multiple screens of your favorite premium channels like HBO, Showtime, and Stars. Call 1-866-TRY-ATT8 now to pack your TVs with all your favorite channels. Hurry, sale ends soon.
American Airlines Flight 1238 from Los Angeles to Chicago was about 30 minutes outside of O'Hare Airport when a man described as mentally unstable stormed the cockpit.
And I just heard screaming and like the plane jolting, and I realized, there was a guy racing by me at full speed.
He ran just as fast as he could, screaming towards the cockpit, opened the door, and one of the pilots just turned around and like knocked him down.
That was but one of the terror-in-the-sky stories that raised the anxiety level of our nation's airline passengers this week in a new wave of psychological warfare against the American public. Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda network issued a chilling new threat to hijack several more planes and crash them into additional U.S. targets. What can be done to prevent such attacks? My next guest wants to have federal regulations changed to allow pilots to be trained and armed in the cockpit. He's a United Airlines captain, is one of the more than 67,000 members of the Airline Pilots Association, and he's a state representative in the New Hampshire legislature. His name is Robert Guida, and he joins us now from Boston. Welcome, Captain Guida.
Good morning, Judith.
Lay out your plan.
Basically, we have a plan that has 4 components to it. The first component would be federal legislation, already, by the way, passed by the Senate last night with the Smith Amendment, that would enable us to be armed while on duty. That conditional on 2 things. One, volunteers only, and secondly, training by the FBI or some suitable government agency, a very rigorous course with required re-evaluations periodically, much as we do for our flight deck duties. Otherwise, excuse me, we would want some form of identification that would enable us to carry our weapons through the many jurisdictions that we traverse in our course of a day's flying. And then we would want indemnification from the legitimate use of a weapon in the defense of a cockpit. And I specify that because our goal is just to enable us to have the proper tools to defend the cockpit, which is the ultimate target for the terrorists of the day.
Okay, now your opposition, and I want to just read some of the things that have been said in opposition to that point of view. House Minority Leader Dick Gephardt, I don't think we need pilots to be trying to be security officers. I think they have enough to get the plane to safety. House Majority Leader Dick Armey, I'm not so sure it's the first best response, adding that he worries that guns could fall into the hands of the bad guys. And House Majority Whip Tom DeLay, I don't want any cowboy pilots going back to fight hijackers and leaving the plane unattended. Your response to those comments?
Okay, first of all, our goal is the defense of the cockpit. We're not going to be running through aisles of aircraft or through the concourses and airports. Our goal is the defense of the cockpit. Secondarily, I find very little logic in an argument that says we're worried about disarming pilots when there's only one way to come into the cockpit, when in fact we have federal marshals who are equally easily disarmable by not single individuals, but now trained commando terrorist teams who have already perpetrated a very serious attack on our nation. I would answer that pilots in the majority are former or current military, regular and reserve officers. A number of us are current or former law enforcement officers. We are hired as much for our judgment as we are for the technical skills that are required to conduct an aircraft operation.
Now, you believe federal marshals should be on every flight?
I believe that that's not necessary. I believe that the deterrent factor of knowing that there could be is equally powerful. When you look at budgetary constraints to pay people $80,000 a year and hire 20 or 30,000 of them, it gets significant. So the point is, there's a deterrent factor that we need to bear in mind here. The knowledge that a flight deck might have an armed occupant is a certain deterrent to someone who's considering taking that flight deck for bad purposes.
Is it a deterrent to someone who's suicidal? Is there anything that's a deterrent to someone who's on a suicide mission?
I'm not certain of that, not being a psychologist, but I will tell you that it's very apparent that the people we're dealing with are very committed. These are not ignorant people. They're very well trained, highly educated, very committed, and they did their homework. They cased the security checkpoints. They flew on the flights that they took down numerous times to make sure they understood every nuance and every intricacy of both the system and the security behind it.
And what is your reaction to the latest Al-Qaeda network threat against the airlines?
I think it's just that. It's a threat. We have to have our level of awareness high as it's always been. Judith, let me share with you that the tension relative to security in the aircraft that I've been flying, and I know my friends and fellow pilots have been flying, is almost palpable. There's been a marked change in atmosphere. And I can't say for the better, frankly, on the aircraft that we fly day after day, leg after leg all over the world.
How do you feel flying? Do you feel safe?
I feel uncomfortable. I know that in the final analysis, it is my own ingenuity and that of my crew, the flight attendants, and the co-pilots that I fly with that will ultimately enable us to prevail. I would feel a great deal more comfortable if I was properly trained and capable of defending the cockpit against a terrorist and allowing me to use a superior force instead of just a pen or something of that nature to try to deflect an attack.
What other security measures should be taken?
First of all, I am advocating that, and this is personal, our flight attendants need the ability to communicate instantaneously with the cockpit. We can have little transceivers on their waist belts with an earpiece or some form of communications with a cockpit so they don't have to go to a handset at the front or the back of the airplane to communicate that there's a problem. Secondly, the FAA is in the process of beefing up what I can call the zones of security: the airport perimeter, the airport terminal, the aircraft cabin. The big gaping hole in the security posture that we have is that we have unarmed pilots and flight crews that are occupants of the terrorist's target.
All right. If you don't get the legislation passed, then what? What are you proposing?
The resolution that's being circulated amongst both the 67,000 pilots at ALPA and the Airline Pilots of American, the Allied Pilots Association, calls for a very careful and deliberate consideration of the suspension of air service unless and until we're given the ability and the training to defend the cockpits, which we are charged by law and all of us take seriously by conscience in protecting the lives of our passengers.
Now, you lost two close friends, one on United Airlines Flight 175 and one on 93. How did that affect you?
In our business, there is always an element of risk. We have tremendous resources brought to bear by both government and the industry and the unions in working in concert, sometimes not always agreeing, but working in concert to produce the very safest of products. Something like this is a great shock. We need to recover from it, learn from it, understand that the terrorist acts that took place on September 11th were all preceded by the murder or incapacitation of 8 pilots.
All right, Captain Gaida, we are out of time, but I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Judith.
They formed a mid-air band of brothers and thwarted hijackers' attempts to fly yet another plane into our nation's capital on September 11th. After this news break, one mother speaks out on the life of her hero son and the final call he made to her that fateful morning. Stay with us.
I am an American. I am an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
I am
An American.
I am an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American. I'm an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am an American.
I am an American.
Set goals, follow through with a plan. It's how you win football games. It's how I've survived heart disease. Over 500,000 Americans die each year of heart disease. Enough people to fill this stadium 7 times. I'm alive today because I follow a game plan which includes a simple cholesterol test. Team up with your doctor to develop a plan that can control your cholesterol and keep you in the game. Call now for a free playbook on cholesterol and surviving heart disease and learn about the Mended Hearts, offering support to heart disease patients.
Chetri with the latest developments now as America strikes back. Another possible sign that U.S. raids, which are continuing at this hour, are weakening the Taliban stronghold. Intelligence officials for the Taliban have asked Northern Alliance commanders to switch sides and join the Taliban against U.S.-led attacks on Afghanistan. With anti-American sentiment strong, the United States is on high alert, and National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice says it will stay that way for some time. Rice denies reports that al-Qaeda has access to nuclear weapons. She also urges Americans not to fear that kind of threat. Meantime, Secretary of State Colin Powell is on a diplomatic mission in Asia, trying to shore up the anti-terror coalition. Powell will visit Pakistan and India to thank them for supporting the war on terror and also to try to ease tensions between the two countries. The FBI has checked student records at a truck driving school outside of Denver, Colorado. Agents are investigating the possibility that 25 to 30 Arab men paid cash to take a truck driving course at Careers in Trucking over the past 2 years. They reportedly finished without trying to look for a job, something that's rare. Also, the Center for Disease Control officials in Florida are now saying that the additional test cases that showed positive exposure to anthrax may have been false positives. There will be more testing done in Florida. We do know that there are now 12 people across the country who have been exposed to anthrax. Meantime, there's been an anthrax scare at Rio de Janeiro's International Airport in Brazil. Cleaning staff found a white powdery substance on a Lufthansa flight from Frankfurt, Germany. Scientists are analyzing the substance. Results should be announced later this week. That is our update. We'll be back again for you at the top of the hour. Judith Regan Tonight continues.
I love my country, and I take pride in serving her.
but I cannot say that I love her more or as well as Mark Bingham did.
That was Senator John McCain eulogizing the late Mark Bingham at a memorial service held last month. Mark Twain wrote, "Courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not absence of fear." The late Mark Bingham learned the meaning of these words all too well on September 11th, 2001. Just 31 years old, Mark was one of the heroes who rushed the terrorist on the hijacked United Airlines Flight 93, causing it to crash in a field in Pennsylvania rather than our nation's capital as was planned. Before this last act of heroism was executed, Mark placed a call to his family in California, advising them that his plane had been hijacked. That call is now an important part of the history of this tragedy. Joining us now from Mountain View, California, it's a pleasure to welcome hero Mark Bingham's mother, Alice Hoagland. Thank you for being here, Alice.
Thank you very much for having me.
Take us back to September 11th. The phone rings.
The phone rang very early in the morning. A family friend picked it up. I didn't hear what she responded, but I did hear her come down the hall past my room. She roused my sister-in-law, Kathy. Kathy came to the phone. I was getting out of bed at that point. We have 3 small infants in the household, so we were all still in bed, unaware of what was going on. I heard Kathy say, "We love you too, Mark. Let me get your mom." And then she handed me the phone and said, "Alice, talk to Mark. He's been hijacked." And I heard Mark say, "Mom, I just want to tell you that I love you. I'm on a flight from Newark to San Francisco, and there are 3 guys on board who have taken over the plane, and they say they have a bomb. I'm calling you from the plane's air phone." And I responded, "Well, I love you too, Mark. Who are those guys?" And he seemed distracted, as though someone was speaking to him. If I had to guess, I'd say it was in English. I heard no sound of violence or struggle or threats being made or any foreign languages being spoken. I only heard Mark's voice distinctly, but I could tell someone was speaking to him. He came back on the line after about 5 seconds and said, "Well, you believe me," or "It's true, you understand that, don't you?" Something to that effect. And I said, "I do believe you, Mark. Who are these guys?" And once again, he seemed to be called away from the phone for as long as 5 seconds. It seemed like a very long time to me. And then the line went dead. I learned later that he was seated in seat 4D next to Tom Burnett, who had the good fortune of speaking to his wife, Dina, and learning about what was happening with the other 3 airliners that were hijacked. Because we're out here on the West Coast, we didn't know what was going on. We turned on the TV, and I saw the World Trade Center, the North Tower in flames, and saw the airliner crashing into the South Tower. And I had been very fearful for my son's life because of what he had told me only a moment before on the phone, but I knew that he was in grave trouble, and I realized that his plight was part of a much larger scenario of terror.
Now, at some point, you learned that Mark was instrumental in preventing that flight from its original intent, which was to fly into the White House.
I suspected it very early on. Mark's a very take-charge, powerful young man. He is he's always been a champion in my eyes. He is never one to back away from a fight. I knew that he was very likely in first class, and that meant that he was 10 to 15 feet away from the cockpit door. He probably saw everything that happened. Some really horrible things had happened, and typical of Mark, he was trying to shield me from telling me everything. He told Kathy a moment before he spoke to me, what he said to her was, "I wanted to tell you that I love you in case I don't see you again." He didn't say that to me.
He wanted to protect his mother.
Yes.
But he was one of the men on that flight that was instrumental in bringing that flight down and preventing it from
That will probably be confirmed when we get access to the cockpit voice recorder. As it is now, we know nothing for sure about anyone's particular role.
But he was a hero.
I'm convinced of that. I'm convinced of that.
What kind of a little boy was he?
He was a beautiful little boy. He grew from a shy, a little boy lacking in self-confidence into a powerful and self-confident and vital man. I give a lot of credit to his experience in high school, where he came under the wing of his rugby coach, Dan Smith, and Gary Townsend at Los Gatos High School. He really developed as a sophomore playing rugby. It's a very aggressive and competitive sport. I used to agonize as I stood on the sidelines watching him play. As Dan Smith mentioned in his eulogy to Mark at the memorial service there on the University of California campus, Mark made captain 2 years, his junior and his senior year there in high school. Mark went on, largely on the strength of his rugby, to go to the University of California at Berkeley and played there when the rugby team went to the national championships.
Now, Alice, you're an airline stewardess, correct?
Yes.
Are you still working as an airline stewardess?
Yes, I am. Although United has been kind enough to let me have some time off, I'm still trying to regroup and collect my thoughts and take care of matters involving Mark's affairs.
Now, from a stewardess's point of view, what would you have done if you had been on that plane?
Well, we as flight attendants are safety professionals. We're trained in dealing with terrorism. It's not the focus of our training. We have specific procedures that we implement when a hijacking takes place, but there's no getting around the fact that a hijacking, especially in today's political climate, is a very serious situation, a very life-threatening situation.
Are you fearful of flying again?
Well, I'm taking a little time off. I share some of the fear that all Americans are feeling.
And what about airline security? Do you think that pilots should carry guns, for instance? Federal marshals should be on the plane. How do you feel about that?
I think that there should be strong measures taken to increase airline security. Clearly, there have been flaws in our security in the past. It's horrifying to me that these things have happened, that 19 armed men were able to board our commercial airliners and do the things that they did. I'm very glad to see that our federal and state governments and law enforcement agencies are taking steps to strengthen our protection as we fly.
All right, Alice, you're a very brave woman. Your son, Mark Bingham, was a very brave man, and my heart goes out to you. No one should ever lose a child. Thank you.
Thank you for your sympathy.
Up next, he was certainly a hero before September 11th, but now the whole world knows it. We'll talk to the wife of one of New York's finest, who made a career out of risking his own life to save others. One more story of unforgettable courage when we return.
On September 11th, America faced terrorist attacks of the worst kind. Innocent lives were lost, and a sad cloud was cast over this great nation. These acts were intended to cause fear among all Americans, including our children. But we cannot let that happen. There are things we can do to help our kids. Talk with them, listen to them, tell them they're safe and that they're loved. God bless you, and God bless America.
The internet is an amazing and wondrous place. But there are also dangers lurking online. Reports suspicious behavior on the internet aimed at you or other kids by going to www.missingkids.com.
This weekend, the threat of retaliation, the safety of our country. Coverage continues with live reports, confrontation, commentary, and heated debate. Stay with the Fox News Channel. Rooting out terror on a special live edition of Hannity Colmes. Bioterrorism, security. What will it take to keep America safe? Homeland, defending Americans. A Fox News Channel special. America strikes back, and the business community gears up for a long and costly battle. Stay with the Fox News business team, keeping you up to date and informed as events unfold.
He was known for his daring rescues, pulling survivors from the water in 1989 after a plane went off a LaGuardia runway and rappelling down a building to search for World Trade Center bombing victims in 1993. Your daddy was a great hero, his brother told his children at his memorial service this week, a service attended by more than 9,000 people. And someday, your children will study about what happened on September 11th, and they'll be able to stand up in class and say, "My grandfather died climbing the stairs, trying to help people." Their daddy was a police officer on the NYPD's Emergency Squad number 7, and he bravely lost his own life, saving thousands of other lives when Building 2 of the World Trade Center collapsed. Ronald Klupfer was a father, a husband, and a hero, and we're joined now by his brave wife, Dawn Klupfer. Thank you for being here. And I know how hard it is for you to come out at this time. Talk to me about what happened on September 11th. When were you watching television or?
Actually, I first heard about it on the radio at about 9 o'clock. I came home and I was in my car. I got home and I called his quarters right away, but there was no answer, so I knew he had gone.
And what did you think when that plane hit the building?
I thought it was an accident. I think everybody thought that the first plane was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, I knew that he would be there. And I spent the rest of the day watching the TV.
And what happened as the day went on?
Well, the second plane hit. The buildings collapsed. I still didn't think that he would be gone. I knew he'd be down there, but I didn't think that the worst had happened. And I kept calling, and there was no answer all day long. And about 7 o'clock, finally somebody at quarters answered the telephone. And they said that they didn't know where they were. I called my friends to come over and sit with me. I kept watching TV, waiting by the phone. And then at about 10 o'clock, 2 officers came to my house and told me that he was missing, unaccounted for.
And what went through your mind?
I said to myself, this isn't happening. I just kept saying over and over, this isn't happening, this isn't real.
And were you have 2 daughters and 1 son?
I have 2 daughters and 1 son.
Were they there?
The little boy was sleeping, and my 2 daughters came out of their room when they heard that the daddy was missing. And they started to cry and get a little hysterical. But they wanted me to come with them to police headquarters because that's where there would be some more information. But as it turned out, there was no information to be had. And the next 4 days, I sat with the telephone in my hand in a chair, and I never got any word.
Now, when you were at police headquarters, there were a lot of other families waiting, and you must have bonded with those families and during that process.
Actually, 2 of the families I knew.
Mm-hmm.
But I was I was in a cloud. I couldn't believe what was even happening.
How did you talk to your children about it?
Well, at first, I've been very honest with them from the very beginning. When I found out that Daddy was missing, I told them that Daddy was in the World Trade Center, and we don't know where he is, but they're looking for him. They're trying to find him, rescue him. But as the days turned into weeks, I had to finally tell them the truth, that Daddy is in heaven, he's an angel. And he's a hero.
Now, your husband was an incredible emergency worker and had done many, many heroic things. Talk to me about what he was like and what he loved and the kind of person he was.
Well, he liked his job. He loved being an E-man. He loved the training. He also played lacrosse. He ran the NYPD lacrosse team. And that was something that he did since high school. And my girls play lacrosse, and he was involved in that also. He was a wonderful father.
How do you think that this moment will be remembered in history?
It's a dark moment in history, but at the same time, I see that this moment has brought the country together and families together, the city together in a way in my lifetime, I've never seen before. Patriotism I've never seen before. And I find strength in knowing that my husband was truly a hero. I never knew what that word meant until now. He put his life.
He was somewhere around the 20th floor.
That's what I'm told.
In the stairwell. That's believed to be true.
Right.
Helping people out of the building.
Correct.
When this happened. And really is a true hero because he obviously saved thousands of lives getting people safely out of the building. At his memorial service, your daughter read a letter, which was very beautiful. Would you like to read that? Or
Sure.
I have a copy of it here. This is your 11-year-old daughter, Jamie.
Yes. Dear Daddy, I miss you very much and love you very much. You are a very brave police officer. Not many people would have done what you did. I am very proud of you and always will be. The people you saved will never forget you. Neither will I. You are my hero. You are America's hero. I love you, Jamie.
It's beautiful. And where do you get the strength now? It's been about a month. And where does that come from?
It comes from knowing that he didn't die in vain, that he truly died putting others' lives before his. And I find strength in my children. I know that they're watching everything I do. And if they're going to get through this, I have to be strong, because if I fall apart, where does that leave them?
Well, they're very blessed to have a mother like you. Dawn Klepfer, I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing. Thank you. We'll be right back.
I'm not talking to you.
Now families can enjoy the ultimate web experience and use the phone line at the same time.
Hold on a sec. Don't you get it?
I think she's in love. Introducing Quest Connected Home. It's your home phone line with tons of great features, plus unlimited MSN broadband powered by Quest for just $72.90 a month. Now even get free activation, a $99 value. This is staying connected. This is riding the light. Quest.
What's the most expensive part of a car? The engine? The transmission? Well, for most of us, it's the financing. And that's important to know because right now, Landmark Ford is offering rates as low as 0% on all new cars and trucks. Finance this Mustang for 60 months and you'll save more than $8,000 in interest alone. More than $8,000. But the program ends soon, so see us now at Landmark Ford in Tiger, just off I-5 at the Haines Street exit.
MTV 360. We're the beating hearts of MTV. MTV2 and MTV.com pump a constant stream of music through one continuous fluid system. And as you circulate through MTV's 3 screens, you can branch into pathways that really get your pulse racing. MTV 360. We revolve around you.
As once bustling Sprawling offices in the World Trade Center filled with smoke in the aftermath of the brutal attack, and as the terrorists took control of the deadly flights, people reached for phones to tell their spouses, parents, or partners how much they love them. As the nation comes to grips with this horrific tragedy, people are looking inward, asking themselves, after all is said and done, what is important? And if I am to take my last breath, how shall I now live? What really matters? My next guest has chronicled changes in the way in which we live in the wake of September 11th in several articles in the New York Times. Please welcome cultural reporter Alex Kaczynski.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. Hi.
Thank you.
Well, first, have you changed since September 11th?
Well, I think, like most people, your priorities change a lot. You look at the person next to you and you say, my God, do I want to spend my life with this guy or this woman? You think about the job you're in. Do you hate it? Do you love it? You know, if you had a month to live, is this how you would want to spend it? And I've certainly had that reaction pretty much across the board.
So
yeah.
you looked at the guy next to you and you thought...
And I thought, yeah, he's pretty great. Although, you know, I know lots of people and lots of New Yorkers who looked at, you know, their mate and said, gosh, if this is it, I'm out of here.
leaving.
Yeah.
Really? So
yeah.
people left?
I think it really spurred people to re-examine their relationships. I interviewed a couple of couples counselors who said they had gotten dozens of phone calls from people saying, I think we just need to break up, and you know we're coming to you for aid and sustenance. You know.
Really? So they'd rather be alone?
I think so. I think it.
Maybe they were alone.
Maybe they were alone. You can be incredibly lonely in a rotten
Tell me about it.
In a rotten
I know that one.
Yeah.
Now, what about Hollywood and our view of Hollywood and celebrities? They suddenly became sort of obsolete, didn't they?
Well, it's amazing. The week after September 11th, a week later, Harrison Ford walked into Da Silvano, you know, this restaurant downtown, you know, packed with, you know, celebrity gazers, and he walked in with two, you know, fabulous-looking women on each arm. You know, he's in the middle of a divorce. Normally, this would have caused, you know, heads to swirl around the room, and nobody batted an eye. And then Sarah Jessica Parker walked by outside. No one cared. And then a fire truck drove up the street slowly, and everyone stood up and started to applaud. And I think that is...
They're the new rock stars.
Yeah, they're the new rock stars, and, you know, they're the new celebrities, and, you know, gosh, you know.
How long do you think that'll last?
I think it's going to last as long as the situation lasts, and I think that's going to go on for a long time. I think that you really don't want to spend a lot of time obsessing about what a celebrity is wearing when your life is at stake and the lives of the people around you.
Now, how has it changed what you're writing about?
Well, it's fascinating because I find that, you know, I don't want to write about the new movie that's being filmed or, you know, the new celebrity bio. And it's also changed the level of humor you can really have in writing. There's not a lot of room for, you know, raucous humor. And
but won't that come back at some point?
That will come back, but you know, there's just a feeling of, you know, trying to tamp down anything that seems, even in the most remote way, offensive. You know, to me, to anyone reading, it just has changed the tone of writing a lot. I think.
Now, Rudy Giuliani went on Saturday Night Live in a serious moment, but he did crack a few jokes, and it was followed shortly thereafter by a parody of a hemorrhoid commercial.
Right.
I don't know if you saw that.
I don't. I saw Rudy and I watched The Fireman.
What did you think of that?
I was glad that he went on. I cried. I mean, I thought it was tremendous, and I thought it was a great way for him to say, hey, in your face, terrorists, you know, we've got Saturday Night Live. It's, you know, a staple of sorts, you know, in New York City and the culture here. And for them to go on and, you know, just look brave and tough and strong, and it was completely meaningful and incredibly wonderful, and it scored huge points for Rudy, who's done an amazing job.
Now, what do you think of his, you know, sudden rise back to heroic stature?
Well, you know, he would not have had this, you know, meteoric rise back to heroic stature if he hadn't had the mettle to deal with this situation. So, you know, I think it's completely deserved. It's fascinating to watch Democrats suddenly say, oh my God, you know, this guy's amazing. Let's keep him in office another 3, 4, 5 years. Who cares?
Forever, king.
You know, but it's really shifted, I think, a lot of people's party affiliations as well.
Now, what about, you know, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, these huge, multi-gazillion-dollar book advances? Right. Are they suddenly irrelevant?
Well, talk about footnotes. I have a feeling that it's going to be really hard for them to come out with books in a year and a half. And you know what? Nobody really, or people are going to care about the president's memoirs for sure, the former president. But, you know, are they going
Rudy's book will sell more. We have to go. Alex Kaczynski from the New York Times, thank you so much for being here. That's all for tonight, but before I go, remember, I'd love to hear from all of you. I do read your letters and appreciate your taking the time to write. We're doing our best to respond to all of your comments, so please bear with us. You can email me at regan@foxnews.com or write to me at Judith Regan Tonight, Fox News Channel, 1211 Avenue of the Americas, 17th floor, New York, New York, 10036. Thanks for being here, and have a good night.
These little town blues are melting away.
We'll make a brand new start of it in old New York. If we can make it there, we'll make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York.
Come to Broadway and let's go on with the show.
He killed my father, he killed my brother, and both my sisters. Pancreatic cancer killed them all. We don't know how or why they got it, but we knew it, and it was already too late. There still isn't any way to